I'm Alex Honnold, and while I'm usually outside rock climbing, I'm also the host of a new podcast from Rolex and the Washington Post Creative Group called Planet Visionaries. On the 4th episode, out now, I speak with Kirsten Forsberg about protecting an incredible marine creature, the giant manta ray. Check it out.
Right there. All right, moving on with our roll call. How are we? Brazelhoff, good to see you. Lopro and the lovely Jenny. Bassmaster, good to see you. Fapster, what is happening here, buddy? Richard Elmore, Beelzebrad, how's it going? As we continue, there's Vanner Smith, everyone. He'll be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Continuing on with roll call here as we have a long chat going on. 5,900 Buck, good to see you. And, it's sangria tonight. That's the drink of choice for Simply Cocoa tonight. Sangria. Jamie Cotterill, what's happening? Sensational Sherry, good to see you. Solar Warden, thanks for coming on in. Cherry Pepsi Mike, the inventor of the piano key tie. There he is. Media Fox, thanks for joining us. And we continue on here. JCL Ohio, welcome to our channel for the first time. How are you? We got about 29 seconds here. Phil Minervino, good to see you, as we're going to rock this thing in about 20 seconds. Dr. Lynne Kitei is our guest tonight. We are talking the Phoenix Lights. We are going to have a wonderful chat with all of you guys tonight. I'm geeked up about this one. I'm not going to lie. Big thank you to all the veterans who are tuning us in tonight. Hi, Jeff, Steve, Garvey. How you doing? And remember, the Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show. Get your horns up. Here comes Mr. B. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter @Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including Rockin' Out Bumblefoot, checking out our swag, and Shirky Poo's Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Dr. Lynne Kitei is an internationally acclaimed physician and health educator for over 40 years who published and pushed aside her accomplished medical career to pursue answers for the silent, mile-wide, and very large V, delta-shaped and boomerang-shaped objects that were witnessed by thousands of people back on March 13th, 1997, throughout Arizona, as well as Nevada, New Mexico, and California. She's also photographed these true unknowns called the Phoenix Lights, up close and personal prior to, then during, and after what is now hailed as the most witnessed, most documented, and the most important mass anomalous sighting in modern history. The website is thephoenixlights.net, and I'll tell you, this is one of my favorite UFO talks that we have ever had on this show. And to have Dr. Lynne Kitei here to break it all down for us, what an honor. Thank you so much, Dr. Lynne. It's good to have you on Spaced Out Radio for the first time.
It's wonderful to be here. Hello, everyone that's out there. Thank you for joining us as well. It's really been an incredible adventure, and to be here with you and your audience, family, is really a thrill, because there's so much myth and disinformation out there that even though I stayed anonymous after thousands and thousands, we're estimating probably almost 20,000 people. So what I had been witnessing and documenting on film for 2 years prior to the mass sighting, which blew me away, and I knew nothing about this topic at all. No interest, no knowledge about it at all. Yes?
I want to ask you, previous to the Phoenix Lights, were you a believer in UFOs with a medical background?
I was a healthy skeptic. I am a healthy skeptic. One must be. When you're a physician, anything can come walking through the door and you have to be open to it. So I've always been open. I have to see it to believe it. And boy, did we see it to believe it. Um, and if you want me to go back to when it all started for me, because again, I had no interest or knowledge in this topic at all. And what's really interesting, I mentioned to you before the top of the show that my background, which is really ironic in itself because I've been dedicating my life's work to community education of vital health issues for over now 50 years. Was the health reporter at NBC in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in 1976. Went there with an idea, nobody was doing it, and I saw the need to wake people up to the reality of different health issues. And the syndication grew from that, which was showing in Phoenix in 1980 when we moved here at CBS, and then started doing health reporting for NBC here and then USA Cable, and started my own company in 1985 to produce video and workbook curriculums on vital health issues like prevention education of AIDS and teen pregnancy and substance abuse. And when this fell in my lap, literally and figuratively, in 1995, again, without any interest or knowledge in this topic at all, I really felt obliged not only to learn what was going on, because in 95, let's go back there for a minute, and anybody that's near a computer, if you want to go on the Phoenix Lights Network website, all you have to do is Google Phoenix Lights Network and it'll come up there, or even Phoenix Lights, but Phoenix Lights Network. And you go to the photo page. It is packed, by the way. The site is just packed. I wanted to get something out there that was free and that people could explore and consider and learn. But on the photo page itself are the only 35 millimeter photographs of these anomalous aerial phenomena that exist to our knowledge. And I started taking them in 95. We live mountainside in Paradise Valley, Arizona. We're pretty high on the mountain. And if you go to that first picture on the photo page, you'll see the topography. One wall of our bedroom is a window. So we get to see a panoramic view of the city skyline. And we also see Sky Harbor International Airport. So we see planes and helicopters and streetlights and car lights and all that. Very familiar. This was very different. Actually, I was in an adjacent room. And by the way, Dave, there were a lot of coincidences. I don't believe in coincidence anymore. I don't know about you, but it's just amazing, especially if you read the book, when you see how the puzzle pieces keep fitting together. But this was the first one. It happened to be the eve of my birthday, February 6th. My birthday's February 7th. So this was like a really cool birthday gift, okay? But anyway, I was in a hot bath in a room adjacent to the bedroom. My husband, who's also a physician and a healthy skeptic, even more skeptical than myself, was standing at this big picture window. One wall is a window, talking to my mother-in-law back east in Philadelphia, because she called to wish me a happy birthday. Now, he was on several state and hospital medical boards at the time. Nothing ever ruffled his feathers. But suddenly he starts yelling, "Lynn, get over here quick. What the hell is that?" And I grab my towel, wringing wet, go over to the window, and a little below us, we're really high on a mountain, and a little below us, about 50, 75 feet off the desert ground, which was very treacherous and steep. And we're in a gated community kind of nestled in the mountains, so there's no way that it was military. Were 3 amber orbs in a pyramid formation, one on top, very closely aligned. Underneath were 2 underneath. And it was like, what the Jesus is that? And I wanted to run downstairs to get my video camera, but as people out there, maybe you yourself know, when you see something anomalous like that and paranormal, you don't want to move. You don't know how long it's going to last. So I tried to take everything in mentally, the size, the shape, the color. They were about 3 to 6 feet each, depending on how close they were. They were oval shape, which is interesting because now that the Nimitz Navy pilots have come forward, they describe what their anomalous aerial phenomena are as oval shape. I don't know if they're similar phenomena, but nonetheless, they were oval shape. There were three distinct objects, very closely aligned, and there was a uniform amber color throughout. I call them an orb because the light did not extend outside the edge. It was self-contained. And the light within each orb was a mesmerizing, very soothing, uniform amber color. Immediately, I noticed every other light out there glares. House lights, street lights, car lights. These did not. They're very different. And I thought to myself, if I don't get a picture of this, no one's going to believe it. So I go running to the closet. I collect sunsets. And you'll see on the picture page, the two bottom ones are gorgeous sunsets with big cigar-shaped objects in them. That's a whole other story. But at any rate, I go to my closet to grab my 35 millimeter. My husband calls me back. He says, get over here quick. One of them is disappearing. And as we watched in awe, the top orb, without budging, started to shrink very, very slowly, mechanically, as if there was an intelligent presence behind it. It's really hard to describe in logical terms, like a dimmer switch almost, just getting smaller and smaller, slowly and slowly, till it was pea-sized and then disappeared. But it still felt like it was there. Where did it go? I jumped out on the balcony, got a quick picture of the two lower orbs, and they're the second picture. That's the second picture on the photo page. And immediately noticed an eerie silence, as if time had stopped. It was just bizarre. And as intently as I was watching these two lower orbs, it felt like something was watching me. I did not tell a soul until 2 years later after the mass sighting, but I'm sharing now that it felt like something was watching me. And going through my mind at that moment, I was thinking, who are you? What are you? Do you know that I'm here? I'd love to meet you. That's the exact thought that I was having. The next thing I remember, the left bottom orb started to shrink very slowly. And something told me to take a quick picture of it, which I did, which was miraculous. That was the only one that turned out at the time. But for me, this was a cheap Canon Instamatic camera. I caught this object, whatever it was, actually half disappeared and one's still there. But I didn't know what to do with it. I knew no one. Like I said, I knew nothing about this topic. In fact, I was so involved with our two sons growing up and my company and so forth. I had no interest in getting involved in this topic. But here I had a picture of something that I knew was real and unusual, but I didn't know who to show it to. So I kind of tucked it away and certainly looked out our window for 2 years and wondered what this advanced technology was. I consider myself pretty educated, but I knew nothing about this. And it was something that was so unusual that I was afraid to even mention it to anybody. I didn't know anybody who was into the topic and didn't see anything that came close to these orbs until 2 years later. I'm lying in bed. And again, when that window is open, we get this panoramic view. So anything that pops up out there, whether it's a dust storm, they call them a haboob, that comes by, or strange lights, or a fire, we see the smoke. And suddenly I see January of 97, the 22nd of January, I see 3 orbs in a row, far north. Now I'm staring at them. They're at a distance, but they're huge. And they're amber. They're in an equidistant line. And I'm watching them as one by one, they start to implode from right to left. Just like 95, I thought, wait a minute, they're amber, they're in a formation, even though they were a line formation. They were hovering for minutes, and they seemed to implode as they were disappearing. I mentioned it to my husband. Now, this is interesting and part of the whole story, because everyone comes from a different background, from a different upbringing, from a different belief system, different worldview. Some people can't deal with this topic. Some people don't want to, and that's okay. Everyone in their own time. My husband wouldn't talk about it. Now, he was inside, I was outside in 95. But he wouldn't talk about it. He would get agitated when I would bring it up. It was really bizarre to me, because for me it was wondrous and awesome and amazing. And I will get back to the 97 sighting. But if I can go back to the 95 sighting for a second.
Please.
Okay, I don't want to confuse. There's so much to the story that I promise you, your audience has not heard unless they've read the book. But I don't want to get past the 95 for a second, because if you're looking on the photo page, you'll see after I came forward, after actually the mass sighting, I didn't come forward yet for 7 years, but after the mass sighting, I realized after we went back to the strips of 35 millimeter that I found another picture. That was the first picture that I took in 95. Now, it wasn't until a year after the mass sighting that we had another amazing sighting that I'll tell you about, that was straight lines and mirror images. And the final thing was a giant triangle that 4 of us, I had alerted others that I'd been seeing the Phoenix lights again after the March 13th sighting. And 4 of us were stationed north, south, east, and west, and got amazing video. And I was told by Linda Moulton Howe, who was one of the only people that I had met with after the mass sighting, to get in contact with Navy optical physicist Dr. Bruce Maccabee, and because she thought my pictures were amazing. And I did at that point. This was a year after the mass sighting. And I said to him, now I have video that you can triangulate. Let me send that to you. And as an afterthought, I sent the first and the last picture from 95, the close sighting, to him to ask him what the heck they were, right? He gets back to me. I'm sorry?
It makes sense.
Okay. He gets back to me a couple weeks later, and he says to me, you told me that close sighting in 95 was only a couple minutes, right? I said, right. He says, are you sure? I said, that's what I remember. He said, ask your husband. I said, he won't talk about it. He really wouldn't. He said, you've got to cooperate with him. So I sat him down. I said, we don't have to talk about it, but what do you remember the time span of that close sighting? He says, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 minutes tops. I went back to Dr. Maccabee. I told him that. He said, that's impossible. I said, what do you mean? He says, look at the pictures. I said, okay. He says, first of all, and he was the first one to notice, okay, that there was the same exact phenomena in the same exact location as 97 that we're going to get to. In the background in 95, they were there in the same spot. And we're going to get to 97. While I was very concentrated on the close sighting, I didn't even notice them. So the same phenomena was there in 95. This is important data, okay? But he said what's even more dramatic is look at the skyline. I said, okay. He said there are many more lights, groups of lights, not just individual lights, on in the first picture that's off in the last picture. And anybody that cares to his 21-page report, Dr. Maccabee's report, is on the website. They can look at the intricate. He took those pictures and actually drew lines down from one picture to the bottom one, the first picture to the last picture, to show that there were groups of lights on, because in the first picture, there were many groups of lights on that were not on in the last picture. He said, that doesn't happen in a couple of minutes. He says, I want you to do an experiment. He says, go out on the balcony, stand approximately the same place that you were standing in 95. Now, mind you, this is 98. He says, and take a picture of the skyline like you did that night. One night every hour, the next night every half hour. I actually did it another night every 15 minutes to see when those groups of lights start going out. Now, I usually take a bath when we're home between 7 and 8 in the evening. So let's be conservative and say the starting point is 8 o'clock. The groups of lights started going out at 9 o'clock. The last picture is indicative of 10:30, 11 o'clock. Okay, and he says to me, may I present this case at the upcoming 1999 MUFON, Mutual UFO Network, International Symposium in Washington, D.C. I said, Dr. Maccabee, this is your baby. Just don't mention my name. I want to stay anonymous, which I did for 7 years. And he was kind enough, along with just a handful of people that knew the data that I had, that did keep my name out of it. He presented the case in 1999 as the first, and as far as we know, the only, authenticated photographic evidence of missing time.
Really?
Now, what I shared with you is what I remember. I don't remember the last light going out. I don't remember going inside or looking at a clock. What I shared is what I remember. So tuck that away for now. That was the close sighted, the close encounter in 95. And I always I always go back to that. I saw this up close and personal. I'm a show me person, and I was shown. Plus, I have 35 millimeter photographs. They're in the negative. They cannot be explained or denied. But there's much more. Okay, do we have time to get into the 97?
We have a lot. We have 4.5 minutes.
Okay, so go back to 97. I'm sorry to jump back and forth and tell me if it gets confusing. Okay, because there's a lot of data that people haven't heard, and I know that it's really intriguing, if nothing else. Anyway, so here I see those three lights. They disappear. They're at a distance. I mentioned it to my husband, and he started to joke. He said, do I still have to go to work tomorrow? I mean, he didn't want to hear about it. Okay. The next night he was at a medical board meeting, and I was at the sliding glass door. I look out the sliding glass door, which is perpendicular to the big window that I went out on the balcony the night of 97. And I see the same three orbs are now in front of South Mountain. And I knew they were in front of South Mountain because South Mountain is just behind the airport, Sky Harbor International Airport, and there's red blinking lights on top of the mountain to alert airplanes coming into Sky Harbor that there's a mountain there, right? And this was lower and in front of the mountain. So I figured enough. I run downstairs, I get my video camera, I get outside. I got about 18 seconds worth, the battery goes dead. I go inside, I hook it up real fast, I go outside, they're gone. About 8:30, my husband comes up the drive. Now, this was 8 o'clock. About 8:30, my husband comes up the drive. I go outside and I said, honey, remember I told you about the three amber orbs in an equidistant row last night far north? Well, about a half an hour ago, they were right in front of South Mountain. As I'm pointing like this, they reappear in the same spot. I kid you not. I thought, whoa, I got to get a picture of this. Now, mind you, video does not do the lights justice. They're much smaller, they're bright, they flicker, they're white, and on the web.
Hello, Archie Manning here. When you grow up in a town like Drew, you understand, once a Mississippian, always a Mississippian. I love this place and care about what happens here. Our doctors are telling us 95% of new hospital patients who have COVID did not get vaccinated. We know the vaccine works, but only if you get it. It's easy and it works. Please get vaccinated, my friends, and stay healthy.
Sponsored by Delta Health Alliance. Go to getyourshotms.org.
In the time before AT&T fiber internet.
What are you doing in me dungeon?
It's the only place where the bloody Wi-Fi works.
Oh, and you don't mind the spiders?
Spiders? What spiders? Oh no, they're everywhere! Oh!
In the time after AT&T fiber internet.
It's nice having fast, reliable Wi-Fi in the whole house.
For sure.
The dawn of a better internet era with AT&T fiber.
Limited availability in select areas. Check eligibility at att.com/getfiber. AT&T Smart Wi-Fi extenders may be required. Sold separately. Restrictions apply.
Website, Phoenix Lights Network website. If you go to the news page, you'll see them over and over again. But be that as it may, in the negative in 35 millimeter, they're amber color in the pictures. So, and they can't be denied. They're in the negative. But anyway, I run upstairs. I grab my 35 millimeter. I get out on the balcony to shoot the three lights. Suddenly, 6 lights pop on across, equidistant from each other, massive span over a mile wide. And I started to shake. Not having an explanation for the 95 sighting, it just popped in my head. Is this a mothership or a fleet? It was really unnerving, but I kept clicking away. Thank goodness I did, because those pictures, to me, they're a smoking gun. The second picture, anyone that's on the Phoenix Lights Network website on the photo page will see. The first picture is kind of wavy because I was shaking, but the second picture is this V, like a bright light in the middle with 2 on each side, with, it seems, 2 underneath, right? Well, 2 months later, during the mass sighting, thousands of people would describe 5 lights in a V formation with 2 trailing lights. Okay, this was 2 months before. Okay, the next picture, as the 3 are disappearing underneath, now there's 1 underneath. It looks like whatever this V was started to turn. Okay, and the last picture is really significant because you can see that the one closer arm the lights are bigger, and in between the further away arm, the lights are smaller. Okay, and this has all been analyzed by University and Military Optical. I've gone to great lengths to have them analyzed and authenticated. At any rate, I run inside. I pick up the phone and I pick up the paper and I call the Arizona Republic, which was the big newspaper here. And I said, somebody's got to get out there quick. Oh, thank you. Yes, thank you. We can keep, yes, wonderful. Yes, that's terrific. That's the first one when it was wavy, okay? And I was shaking. That's the last picture of 95 with, you can see, okay, I don't want to confuse anybody, but if you go back to the 95 pictures for a sec, I go back to the one before that.
I'm going to have to bring it
Okay,
up.
that's fine. That's fine. But you can see the same formation at the top there was in the same location as 95. And you can see on the bottom there is one is half disappeared and one is still there. Okay, and the topography, so everybody knows for the other pictures, is there's skylights to the left of the orbs that
I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here, and we're going to get all these pictures ready, and you can break them on down for our audience. We have Dr. Lynne Kitei here on Spaced Out Radio, the Phoenix Lights, all night long. We're going to learn big time about this apparent swamp gas in the middle of the Phoenix desert with some really weird Chinese lanterns when we return on the mighty SOR. All right, let me get those all downloaded here.
Okay, I'm sorry. Am I confusing everybody?
No, not at all. Just
I wanted to get the missing time out of the way because, it gets more confusing when you go ahead and then I go back. So.
There we go. That's where I got them here. Hold on. I'm going to just get all these over here from 1 to 2. I'm going to bring them all up here.
Oh, that's great. I should have asked you if you could do that before because we've been doing that.
That's okay. Old Davey can do them right now. I love these.
Okay. No, that's fabulous. So you can show them. That's great.
We just have to remember to break them down for our radio audience.
No, okay, yes. Yeah, visual is always better. So that's great.
I agree. So you just tell me what slide to go to, and I've got them all numbered here.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Am I okay, or am I talking too fast?
And you are doing beautiful.
Okay.
You are beautiful.
Because there's so much to share. And as I told you when we talked on the phone, I get very passionate and,
All right.
I have to calm down.
There we go. We are all good. Hi, Anonymous Rex. How are you? Advocate for Peace. Welcome back. Who else has joined us here during the break? I think we're caught up. We're caught up. There we go. Yeah, so I'll save. We'll go back to photograph number 1, and then I can bring that up when we return. All right. Hi, sweet Donnie D. All right. I'm so excited you're here.
Oh, I'm excited to be here. I have to tell you. Love to tell the story if you can't tell.
I don't blame you.
Because there's so much that people don't know, and it's like, whoa. That's why I finally decided to come forward. It's like, come on, got to set the record straight here.
Yeah, I really do not blame you. Radagast the Gray, welcome to our channel. If you're new here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We'd appreciate that. So exciting. So exciting.
Especially since they're appearing worldwide now and people say, whoa, there's the Phoenix Lights. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to go back to the 95 to describe them?
We can do whatever you want.
Just so people can see what we were talking about, the ones that
Sure.
come.
Yeah, we can do that.
So sorry.
That's okay.
The allergies here because there's a lot of wind happening.
Yeah, when I woke up this morning, it was... Well, let me get the translation here. Right, Fahrenheit to Celsius. So, at my house this morning, it was 14 degrees Fahrenheit minus 10 Celsius.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, yeah. It's beautiful.
Okay.
It was beautiful. Gorgeous Pam McSee, how are you? Mr. President, welcome back. Spooky Morales, Lori, Mark, Nicola, R&R, and Smithy, thank you so much for the super chats. It's a great way. Thank you again, R&R. It's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis, so thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it, and really do love the fact that you guys support us that way. So, yeah, minus 10 this morning. And let's see here. What's the temperature going to be this week? Let's see. Temperature for 108 Mile Ranch. Oh, what are we at here? Well, tomorrow's high is of 46 degrees. Oh, God, we're supposed to get snow tonight. Sun and cloud tomorrow with a chance of rain on Wednesday and drizzle on Thursday with a high of 49 degrees Celsius or Fahrenheit. Celsius we'd be burning. Yeah, we're all good. There we go. All right. Thank you guys for the super chats. Thank you to all the veterans who are tuning us on in. And remember, you can do some shopping at the SOR shop on our website to get your really cool woo swag. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, and, well, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including Rockin' Out to Bumblefoot. Check out our swag and read up on Shirky Poo's Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. Here we go. Dr. Lynne Kitei is here, and we are talking the Phoenix Lights all night long. Why? Because I've wanted to tell this story for a long time and get in depth. Dr. Kitei, welcome back.
So wonderful to be here, and I'm so glad we have some pictures up now that people can see that are able to, and if you're not able to, just go on the Phoenix Lights Network website photo page. And you'll see this one. The first picture is of the topography. And what's interesting about this and why I took this particular picture is, first of all, that's the view from our mountainside home. We're pretty high up on the mountain there. And one wall of our bedroom is a window. So we do have a good view of the skyline and Sky Harbor International Airport. And if you look at this picture, you'll see, first of all, in the bottom left is a car on the road, and you can see how those lights reflect onto the road. Very different than the true unknowns. I try to be as scientific as I can with the data, Dave, and help people understand how different these objects were, these unexplained aerial anomalies were. The orbs of light did not extend outside the edge. Now, to the right of that car, you can see a line of lights which actually are skylights on a house down the road. That's the car, and that's skylights to the right of that, right there, to the left, to the left, to the left, to the left. A little bit. Yeah, there they go. Now, what's significant about that is that those skylights coordinate, if you look straight up, to where South Mountain on the left and the Estrella Mountains some miles back on the right intersect. A really cool story. I mentioned that there were coincidences, and at this point, I'd love to share with you this one coincidence that happened 6 months before the mass sighting. Because we're getting closer to the mass sighting now. I was talking about the January 97. Well, 6 months before the mass sighting, I was invited to present my substance abuse prevention education program at the Gila Bend Indian Reservation, which is in the basin in between those two mountain ranges. Very sacred ground. And they don't talk to outsiders, but I helped out the principal. And after the mass sighting, and if you look on the other pictures on the photo page, you'll see consistently these UAP, unexplained aerial phenomena, keep popping up right where South Mountain and the Estrellas intersect. So I called him up and I said, did anybody happen to see strange lights on March 13th? And he started to giggle. And I said, is that funny? He said, are you kidding? We've been looking up at them for centuries. We call them sky people, light beings. It's part of their culture. I had no idea. In fact, not only did he say they were part of their culture, many of the indigenous cultures worldwide are very open to other intelligences, not only out there, but here with us. The Hopi, actually here in Arizona, actually have protocols to invite these phenomena, these intelligences in. And he said that's how the Estrellas got its name. It means star in Spanish, gateway to the stars. And there are petroglyphs. A fella named Jeff was going out into the mountains and he found petroglyphs that are identical to what my husband and I saw in 95, the pyramid, the triangle formation of three orbs. And he said they believe that there is a gateway or a portal in that area, which blew me away. I had no idea. But, you know, again, I'm open. I'm a healthy skeptic. But when you look at the data, and the data speaks for itself, consistently, these phenomena keep popping up right where South Mountain and the Estrellas intersect. Now, if you go to the next picture, the second picture on that page is the first picture that I took in 95. Now, you can see the two orbs in the left lower corner there. Okay, they're the two anomalous orbs. You can see the skylights on the right there. Okay, see the skylights on the right of the house. They got it. And if you go straight up, you're going to see where the arrow is. There was, and unbeknownst to us, because we were so concentrated on the close orbs, but Dr. Maccabee actually noticed them. I just thought it was part of the landscape. The same exact phenomena that I would capture 2 months before the mass sighting and during the mass sighting, and actually subsequently to that, are in the same exact location, disappearing as well. Because let's surmise, and this is just speculation, that when the three orbs were there in a pyramid formation, there were 6 lights in a row. Now that there's 2 right near us, there's 4 lights now. And if you go to the next picture, which is the last picture that I took, there's 2 orbs there. So the bottom line is that they're the same phenomena. Were there in 95 as in 97. Now in January of 97, when they popped up, the 6 popped up. If we go to the next picture, you'll see that they're wavy because I was shaking. And then the next picture to me is really a smoking gun, because that shows exactly what thousands of people described during the mass sighting 2 months later. 5 lights in a V formation with 2 trailing lights. There it is, 2 months before the mass sighting. And as I continued to take pictures, the next one shows that as the lights disappeared underneath, the top formation that was, head on turned into a V formation. And the final one, which is pretty cool, which we've had analyzed again, you can see that every other one is bigger than the one in between. So we may surmise that there's either a force field in between holding them in rock solid formation, and we're seeing the bigger orbs are the closer arm and the smaller orbs are the further away arm, or they're separate objects. We don't know. But anyway, I run inside. I call the Arizona Republic. Well, we can keep this picture here. Thank you. And I said, you got to get somebody out there quick. There's these strange lights in front of South Mountain. As I finished my sentence, they were gone. Did not sleep well that night. The next morning I got up, I figured, come on, there's got to be a logical explanation, right? So I called the Arizona Republic again. And I said, did anybody happen to call last night to inquire about strange lights in front of South Mountain? She gets off, she gets right back on. She said, nope, nobody called. Well, I know I called. So I said, well, my husband and I did see something. I even got some pictures of it. Who can I contact to ask what they might have been? So she says, well, sometimes Luke Air Force Base sends experimental maneuvers that they don't tell the public about. And I figured, well, that sounds reasonable. I call up Luke Air Force Base, try to be very professional. I said, my husband and I are both physicians. We live mountainside in Paradise Valley. We saw some strange lights in a huge formation last night. Do you know what they might have been? And from the get-go, she had an attitude. And she said, well, they didn't come into Luke Air Force Base and they didn't come out from here, so we had nothing to do with it. So I said, well, that be that as it may, we did see something unusual, and I just want to get to the bottom of it. I'm, surmise there must be a logical explanation. She says, well, you said they were in front of South Mountain. Maybe somebody saw something there. Now it was a mission. So I call the FAA at Sky Harbor International Airport, and I told them the same thing. And the operator was really sweet. And she said, hold on, let me see if any of the air traffic controllers saw anything last night. I said, great. And it seemed like an eternity. It must have been 5 minutes. She said, comes back on. She said, well, actually, there was a group of air traffic controllers here last night that did see some strange lights that popped up over restricted airspace. And a couple of them are here this morning. I said, oh, please, can I just speak to someone? I'm sure, most anomalies can be explained. Only a small percentage cannot. But I just want to make sure that we saw the same thing. She said, hold. And it seemed like an eternity. Finally, this guy gets on the phone. Now, I met him subsequently for a briefing. Really low-key guy. He was more excited than me. He said, did you see this? Was he did suffer from each other and offering information last night at 8:30? I said, yes, that's why I'm calling. He said, well, there were 3 at 8 o'clock. I said, I saw them too. He said, I can't believe you saw them at a distance. I'm so glad you called. He said, because the 3 popped up at 8 o'clock. They looked on radar. Nothing showed up on radar. And they got alarmed because there's a 30-mile radius around the center of the airport, Class B restricted airspace. Anyone that goes into that airspace, especially 1,000 feet that these were, must call into the tower. And no one did. And then they disappeared. And when they popped up again, at the 6 popped up at 8:30, they really got nervous. So they took up their high-powered binoculars to look, and in his own words, he said there were 6 points of light, totally equidistant from each other, massive span, over a mile wide, that seemed to be attached to something, but they couldn't quite see what these lights were attached to, or had a force field holding them in rock-solid formation. And he was a meteorologist as well. And he said, and the entire thing turned as a unit against the wind. That's another important point. Elevated slowly, and then moved in synchrony behind South Mountain. So I said, so what were they? And there was silence. And then he said, beats me. I said, you're an air traffic controller. You're supposed to know what's in our airspace. They ruled out every conventional aircraft, balloons, Chinese lanterns, flares, even skydivers with holding lights. They ruled out everything imaginable. They could not decipher what these phenomena were. There was a whole group of air traffic controllers up there that saw this. We kept in contact up until and including March 13th, 1997. Before we get to that, I'm going to share another little coincidence. A couple weeks before the mass sighting, my husband was getting really annoyed with me because we'd be in a conversation or whatever, and I'd see these lights pop up at a distance from the corner of my eye, I said, hold that thought. And the scientist in me, whatever, felt compelled to get this on film, which I did. And a couple weeks before the mass sighting, my husband was really getting annoyed. So I thought, okay.
In the time before AT&T fiber internet.
What? What are you doing in me dungeon?
It's the only place where the bloody Wi-Fi works.
Oh, and you don't mind the spiders?
Spiders? What spiders? Oh no, they're everywhere! Oh!
In the time after AT&T fiber internet.
It's nice having fast, reliable Wi-Fi in the whole house.
For sure.
The dawn of a better internet era with AT&T fiber.
Limited availability in select areas. Check eligibility at att.com/getfiber. AT&T Smart Wi-Fi extenders may be required. Sold separately. Restrictions apply.
It happens a lot at Whataburger. You take your first bite and suddenly you have a flavor epiphany. When things come together in a flavorful flash of, well, first bite perfection. Melty cheese, crispy bacon, and the smoky heat of Hatch green chilies all coming together bite after perfect bite. Good thing there's the limited time Hatch Green Chili Bacon Burger and new Hatch Green Chili Bacon Chicken Sandwiches at Whataburger. Available by dine-in, drive-thru, curbside, and delivery. Delivery available in select locations. Fees may vary.
And it's about time I let my friends know about this and try to find somebody to tell me what the heck these are. Like I said, just because we don't have the technology yet to definitively define what they are, it doesn't mean they're not real. This is how close I was, Dave. A friend of a friend had a neighbor who had a friend who knew the past president of MUFON, Mutual UFO Network, who I had never heard of before. And I call him up. I said, look, I've been seeing these lights at a distance. He had not heard about them, but there were other people that were seeing them along with me and photographing them. In fact, one of them, Steve Blonder, called up a group of MUFON people to his balcony on March 13th. And while they were standing there, they actually caught an arrowhead of 5 lights. And that video is spectacular. I mean, those lights are attached to something or have a force field there. It's an unbelievable video. But at any rate, he says to me, and I have a picture. I said to him, and I have a picture, because that was the last picture was the only one that turned out at the time, from a sighting 2 years before, that I would like someone of credence to take a look at and tell me what it is. He refers me to a field investigator for the following following Wednesday. He calls me up on Tuesday to say the then state director wanted to meet with me as well, but his mom had passed on Saturday. The funeral was Wednesday morning. Could we postpone? And it was like getting ridiculous already. I said the only window of opportunity for another 2-3 weeks was Friday morning at 10 o'clock. He said, fine. Okay. I knock on his door on Friday morning, March the 14th. He opens the door, and the first thing he says to me is, did you see the mass sighting last night? And I said, well, I saw something similar to what I saw 2 months ago that I told you about. He says, no, you don't understand. Hundreds, if not thousands of people saw these V and boomerang formations of lights throughout the state, and NBC was coming to interview him in a half an hour. I said, whoa. I said, first of all, I don't know what we're dealing with here. Is it a hoax? Is it military or whatever? It doesn't matter. It's not about me. It's never been about me. It's about the data. I said, I have video that I shot last night. He said, fabulous. I said, somebody might recognize me from NBC because I was doing health reporting in the early 80s at NBC. I said, I'm out of here. But make a copy of the video, show it to whoever you want. I'm leaving. And by the way, I called the air traffic controllers this morning before I came to verify, which they did, that the same exact phenomenon appeared in the same exact location last night over Class B restricted airspace, 1,000 feet altitude. And in fact, one of the air traffic controllers said that there were pilots that called into the tower. A commercial airline pilot on departure said, what the hell are these lights over me? Which is really significant. And a private pilot, say that 5 times, private pilot called in to report the V that I was actually photographing at the same time. I'll get back to him in a minute. At any rate, I said, I'm out of here. I left. At 4:00 that next day, on the 14th, that day that I met with the MUFON fellow, I turn on the news to see if anybody's even covering it. Splattered across the screen was my video. It was really exciting. I have to tell you, letting people know what we saw. In my video was the 3 endpoints. By the time I got out there, the V had turned or whatever, and I got the 3 endpoints of a massive, over a mile wide V. And by the 9:00 news, there were a couple other videos, the arrowhead and also a couple of boomerang videos, which I will get to in a minute because they have been the ones that have been under fire for being not unknowns. Okay, let me just say that. I'll get to what the explanation was. At any rate, if you want to go to the next picture, I believe.
That one there?
No, the next one. No, that's the sighting. No, that actually was 1 month after 9/11. Okay, no, you can leave that one if you want. Okay, that's 3 lights. Now that was actually taken in 2002, I believe, but similar to what I saw on March 13th, 1997. Let's talk about March 13th, 1997.
Let's do it.
Okay, anybody out there that has no idea, or even if they have some idea, whatever you've heard, one of the main reasons I came forward is to set the record straight, because there is so much mis and disinformation out there. And once I knew thousands of people had seen what I had been seeing, I started keeping an intricate journal of everything, of witness reports, of media reports, of military conversations that I had, et cetera, we'll get to. But on March 13th, while thousands of people were looking up at the sky purposely for a glimpse of the Hale-Bopp comet, which was very clear in the northwest sky, they also caught a glimpse of a mile. It's probably the first time you've ever heard this one. Peter Davenport, the director of the National UFO Reporting Center in Seattle, Washington, a couple of years ago, announced from his data, and he has a plethora of reports from people throughout the last 25 years, announced that one of the objects was 8 miles wide. Okay, we're talking orb formations in different formations and actual craft. And if people are on the website and they can go to the GAP page, GAP, Geospatial Animation Project, there was a 12-year study, meticulous study by the investigators of thousands of reports. 2 or more people had to see the same craft to be in the study. And if you look at that page, there were actually 10 different craft, mile to 8 mile wide. Now, whether it was one craft that could morph into looking different, or the perspective from where the person was standing, or a parade. And that's ultimately what the investigators concluded, because, and this is another big one for people out there, it wasn't just 1 or 2 hours, as you would hear in the media. It was over a dozen hours. The mass sighting began with daylight sightings in Arizona at 3 p.m., 5 o'clock hour in New Mexico. We have reports from Native Americans there. 7 o'clock hour and beyond in California. And there is a wonderful report that took years for the pilot to come forward to me personally. She would not come forward publicly, but I have her story in the book, but I'll tell a little bit of it today. She finally came to me to say that during the 10 o'clock hour, she was traveling from Phoenix to California on a commercial airline. There were 140 passengers that saw this, plus the crew. One of these craft covered Las Vegas as they were passing, and they got very alarmed, and they called the closest radar people and asked if they were pinging anything. And almost simultaneously, another pilot called in, agitated, and says, "Oh my God, what is that right in front of me over Las Vegas?" Suddenly, a very authoritative male voice came on the speaker and asked them details, and kind of freaked out this pilot and her co-pilot. And she said, "Well, I think we might have been mistaken." They continued on at 30,000 feet to California. And as they approach California, suddenly they see a giant flare about a half mile away. And this is 30,000 feet, which is strange enough, okay? And suddenly, almost simultaneously, coming in the opposite direction was a giant military jet. She said it was even closer. She jumped out of her chair. She said she almost jumped out of her chair. It was so close. And everybody saw this, and it freaked her out. She said she immediately got her husband on the phone and said, don't open the door for anybody. They felt that somebody was trying to give them a message. Okay, that was her feeling. Okay. At any rate, these sightings continued. Now, mind you, and I get how the media picked up on the 8 to 10 time frame, because that's when most people were outside looking up at the sky at the Hale-Bopp comet. That's when most of the calls came in to Luke Air Force Base, although they denied that they got calls, but a number of people told us that they actually got the number to the National UFO Reporting Center from Luke Air Force Base, okay, and the news people, and that's when most people called in between 8 and 10. But the sightings continued all the way until 5:30 the next morning.
Wow.
The Boeing crewman, okay, I'm on my way on a flight, finishing the second edition. The book is now in its fourth edition. I was finishing the second edition of the book. I think I was going to an interview for Dateline NBC, and this whole family was around me. The parents and some grandchildren were in front, and the grandfather was next to me, and one of his grandkids was next to him. And I'm finishing the book, and he looks over. He says, "The Phoenix Lights, I saw them." I said, "Really?" I said, "Please tell." And he says, "I'm a Boeing crewman." He was a Boeing crewman. He said his entire crew was coming into work at 5:30 the next morning. Real credible guy. And one of these craft, over a mile wide, was hovering over their tarmac.
Oh my goodness!
So we're talking over a dozen hours. Do I have 1 minute to just say one more thing?
I'm going to cut you off right there, because we are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. An incredible detailed story of the Phoenix Lights, March 13th. 1997, and we're just getting into this with Dr. Lynne Kitei here on Spaced Out Radio, and I'm so pumped up about this one. To me, this is the UFO story that needs more answers than questions. We're going to continue on with Dr. Lynne right after this, and a big shout out to our audience member, Jordan Ashley Pettit. It's her birthday today, so happy birthday, gorgeous Jordan. Nice to have you here with us. Hour 2 next. All right, we're clear. We got 6 minutes.
Now nobody can see me now, right?
Everyone can still see you.
Oh, can they?
I could take you out, though. There. Now you're out. All right. Going to be out there for a second. I'm going to freshen up a little bit with some hand lotion because my hands are dry. This is awesome. Ufologist, how you doing? That was a nice shout out to Jordan by Dave. Very nice of Dave to do that on her birthday. Laura Logan Hill, how are you? And, yes. That's how we roll around here. That's how we roll. There's the birthday girl right there. Giving her horns up. I don't know what that other emoji is. Not sure. Excuse me. Are you ready to come back?
Boring?
No. I work 2 jobs.
Do you? What do you do?
I work in finance during the day, so I have a desk job where I fall asleep all the time. My boss laughs at me, and then I have this one.
Good for you.
And who else has joined us here? There's Zero Cool and gorgeous Pam McSee, the birthday girl right there. And I think we're caught up. It's all good. Look at Gary Voorhees and his power beard right there. Hold on, where is it? Right there. You don't get a beard like that unless you served on the USS Princeton in 2004 during the Nimitz incident. That's how you get a beard like that, people. Mm-hmm. That's how it's done. Reverend Keith, amen to you, my friend. This is my spiritual guru right there, Reverend Keith. Hello, gorgeous Marie in L.A. How are you? Mm-hmm. I'm having fun here. Good. Lots of fun.
That's the way you go.
So far, this is exactly what I was hoping for. I'm not going to lie. Oh, I'm so excited. So excited.
There's a lot more to the story.
Oh, I can't wait. Hey, Sweet Murray F. How's it going, buddy? The gorgeous Wendy Williams has returned. There she is. The Quick. What's happening, man? Andrew, what kind of car are you shopping for? Please tell us it's not a Toyota Prius. Well, I really don't want it to snow tonight. Really don't want it to snow. No. We have about just over 2 minutes. I want to say a big thank you to Magnus, to Gary, to R&R ×2, Spooky, Lori, Mark, Nicola, and Smithy for the amazing super chats. It's a great way to support what we do in this show on a nightly basis, so thank you so much for all of your support. Thank you. And we got 90 seconds. About 2 minutes. After this one, we'll have 90 seconds.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Is it possible to show a video from the news page when I tell who that pilot was?
Yes, let me go to the news page.
There's two videos that I think you might want to show. The Symington, and I apologize. I would have sent it to you.
I don't know if I can legally show these on YouTube.
That's the question. Yeah,
I don't think I legally can.
Okay.
Yeah, because if they were your videos, I could, but because they're a news outlet,
right,
I cannot.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Blame
you.
No,
that's okay.
Blame YouTube, not me. Blame YouTube. Josh Casey, welcome to the channel. All right, we got 1 minute here. 1 minute. Let's see. Let's see what we're up to.
And remind me to tell you about the Raising Arizona thing.
All right.
It'll freak you out.
All right. Right now, by the way, it's 2 degrees Celsius, 35 Fahrenheit.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. And then snow next Monday. Gosh darn it.
You don't like the snow?
Oh, I'm not ready. I don't mind the snow. I'm just not ready for it. It's too early yet. I'm going to have 6 months of snow here. Hi, gorgeous Carol. How are you? All right. Big thank you to all the veterans who are tuning us in. And a big thank you to everybody who's done a little shopping at the SOR store on our website. Thank you, Maurice, for adding to the super chat. Here we go, everyone, with hour 2. Get your horns up.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. Want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Just go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Xenodotium. I think I said that right. Xenodotium is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with Dr. Lynne Kitei as we are talking the Phoenix Lights. I am so excited about this because this is one of those cases where we need more information. You know, you can talk about Roswell, you can talk about Kecksburg, but I think when it comes to media, when it comes to hype, the Phoenix Lights, March 13th, 1997, is the story I believe we need to focus on in ufology a little bit more. Dr. Lynne, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for being with me and just letting me share the rest of the inside story.
Because, please do.
The night of March 13th, when I was getting into the fact that not only did the mass sighting itself last over a dozen hours, from 3 p.m. in the afternoon all the way to 5:30 the next morning, but it was seen not only in Arizona, but also in New Mexico, California, and Nevada. That's really significant, okay? It was really an incredible, whoever did this wanted to be seen in a gentle, non-threatening way. And that's another important thing. There has not been not one report in 25 years now, this March, of harm, threat, or abduction associated with the Phoenix Lights phenomenon. I can't speak for other things, but I can for the Phoenix Lights. If anything, people were in awe and in wonder. That's a whole separate thing that I'm going to get into after I share one more aspect of the mass sighting itself. At 3 a.m. the next morning, an alleged crewman from Luke Air Force Base called the National UFO Reporting Center, Peter Davenport, a recorded report that's very detailed, very professional. In fact, we have snippets of it in our documentary so people can hear firsthand that this alleged crewman described the fact that not only was Luke Air Force Base very aware of what was going on, but military jets were sent out to intercept and get gun camera film, which I heard from insiders that they did. I haven't seen it myself. But as they got closer, the lights dimmed.
Hello, Archie Manning here. When you grow up in a town like Drew, you understand, once a Mississippian, always a Mississippian. I love this place and care about what happens here. Our doctors are telling us 95% of new hospital patients who have COVID did not get vaccinated. We know the vaccine works, but only if you get it. It's easy and it works. Please get vaccinated, my friends, and stay healthy.
Sponsored by Delta Health Alliance. Go to getyourshotms.org.
Peacock is streaming your favorite shows, movies, live sports, breaking news, exclusive originals, and every live WWE pay-per-view. It's The Office, Chris Lee Knows Best, and Peacock original shows like Punky Brewster. Peacock, watch for free, upgrade for more. Stream now at peacocktv.com.
And they were less than a half a mile out. And as they got even closer, the entire thing blinked out and disappeared. And freaked out, one of the pilots, who this alleged crewman said that he helped out of his aircraft because he was so shaken up by it. And then Luke Air Force Base went on lockdown. So they were very aware of what was going on. Now, some of the other technology that I must share with your viewing audience that people don't realize from the night of March 13th is that these massive craft, 1 to 8 mile wide phenomena, not only were totally silent, that's what most people felt was so eerie about it, because it was at rooftop level, gliding very slowly, about 30 miles an hour. And then some people saw it take off at blink speed without even dispersing the air. No sonic boom, nothing. Other people, and if you look at the GAP page, Geospatial Animation Project, one of the craft that people described actually split in two and then shot straight up. Another one, the wings went in. I mean, it's just when you hear about what these people described in great detail. In fact, we have a fella who's now, anybody that can get the Discovery Plus channel, there's a wonderful show called UFO Witness. And I am in there as a spokesperson for the Phoenix Lights. And one of the witnesses that I shared with them is terrific. He's a nurse. He's a registered nurse. And he was standing underneath one of these craft with a street light right near him. So he saw the whole bottom, and people saw gunmetal on the bottom. He saw like these changing, flickering, kind of looking through water type thing. And he was standing right near one of these lights. And he said it looked like lava was coming down. And he thought he was going to get hit by it, although he didn't feel any heat at all. And then before it hit the bottom, it would shoot straight up again and then start coming down again and then shoot straight up again. I mean, the descriptions are incredible. We have a pilot in the documentary who was also close to, and he was a commercial pilot and Vietnam pilot, would work with flares, by the way. And he also was near one of these orbs. And he said it looked like a canister that goes into the ceiling, and the light was self-contained in there. Other people saw these orbs detach from the main object, go out into the environment, and then redock with it later. I mean, the technology is just incredible. Have we seen anything that comes close to what I just described? Anything? No. And you would think with the precariousness of what's going on worldwide, if we did have this technology, wouldn't we show it? Okay. Well, the most absurd thing, and there is so much to the story, so much more to the story, because once I knew that thousands of people had seen what I had seen, I started keeping this intricate journal. And there's so much more, because after the mass sighting, there was no investigation by the military or government. There was no explanation. There was nothing like that. Like, people went to the mayor and asked what's going on. He said, oh, there was something that happened on March 13th. Oh, it was just uncanny. In May, okay, former councilwoman, vice mayor, the only person that came forward, Frances Barwood, asked innocently. She didn't see it, but her constituents kept asking her, what are you going to do? I mean, even though it was a public safety issue, because it was so low, she asked innocently in a council meeting for an investigation, and she was plastered. I have to tell you, the ridicule and the snickering and the discrediting of people, including her, anyone that came forward, was rampant in 97. It was awful. I was so happy to stay anonymous. I really stayed anonymous for 7 years, collecting data and educating myself. I knew nothing about the topic, and I was blown away. In fact, just a little bit of a history. I had no idea that these phenomena have been occurring since human documentation began. There are etched out in primitive caves in Peru and Pakistan animals that are long extinct, and in the air are what we would call UFOs today. And if you look at Sumerian writings and India writings and even the Bible, Ezekiel's wheel, what they described in their own terms of the day seem like UFOs, right? And then you fast forward and you come to the 15th and 16th centuries. We have frescoes and paintings in Europe of people on the ground looking up. In fact, I have a graphic novel activities coloring book that I'll share with you for all ages, and I have iconic pictures. There are pictures that look like a UFO with a being in the UFO. How did they know that? Why were these people looking up at the sky at these objects? Is it something that they saw and they wanted to depict? Okay. And then you fast forward again to 100 years before our mass sighting. And there's so much more data out there, but this was significant for me personally, because in 1897, in March and April of 1897, there was what was described in Kansas, California, Washington, and Canada, a giant, massive airship with removable lights. Sound familiar? Okay. And that was 6 years before the Wright brothers took flight. Okay. And then you fast forward again, and we have not only the UFOs, these orbs that were buzzing the White House in 1952, but during World War II itself, we have what they called Foo Fighters, not the
band,
not the musical group, but Foo Fighters, fire, okay, in French, that were, in fact, I contacted Dr. Richard Haynes, who was a specialist in these Foo Fighters and actually started NARCAP, which was a reporting center for thousands of pilot reports. I mean, they were threatened with their careers if they came forward. And I conferred with him, and he verified that what my husband and I saw outside our bedroom window in 95 was very similar, if not identical, to what they called Foo Fighters in World War II. Every side thought the other side had these orb spy technologies going around their ships in 2s and 3s and in rock solid formation. And it wasn't until after the war that Japan and Germany and the United States tried to find out who had these. Nobody could find out. Okay, they were called Foo Fighters. And then you fast forward again, and we have the Lubbock lights in 51. In the 80s and 90s, we have the UK flap that was very similar with triangle craft, as well as the Belgium flap. When flap means it happened a lot. Okay, and a lot of people saw it. Belgium was really a model for what should happen. They got together civilians and military and university and scientists to study these phenomena. That's what should happen, and hopefully is starting to happen now here. And then you fast forward again, and we have the Stephenville lights, and it's ongoing, and similar phenomena in Illinois and all over the world. What's really cool now is that I did not want to come forward. Okay, so I just kept this journal growing and growing and growing, and months later, okay, now May of 97, we have Frances Barwood that asked for an investigation. She was plastered to the wall with cartoons in the paper and all kinds of stuff. June, and again, there was nothing. There was nothing announced of any investigation or explanation. Suddenly, June 18th, 97, front page article in USA Today, opening up our mass sighting for the very first time. People weren't hearing about it outside of Arizona, to the world. And we didn't have social media then, okay? Overnight, it went viral. By the morning, it was on every morning show in the United States. It was on Peter Jennings, Dan Rather, you name it. The Phoenix Lights was big time news. For the first time, we get an announcement late that morning on the 18th of June that then Governor Fife Symington was calling an unscheduled press conference that afternoon to divulge the culprit of the lights over Phoenix. And everybody took it seriously. That afternoon, he comes marching out, one of his aides, in a giant alien head costume and made a mockery of the mass sighting, which was really disconcerting, especially for parents that were with their children that saw something that was 2 and 3 moles wide, and he's making a joke out of it, okay? And he, his big explanation is that, we didn't want people to panic. Again, not one report of harm, threat, or abduction associated with the Phoenix Lights and Islands. They were panicking, I'm sure.
I gotta ask you in regards to that, Dr. Lynne, okay, because I think Fife Symington, for a scoundrel that he was while within office, earlier this year he spoke at the International UFO Congress in Phoenix, and which I'm sure you're aware of.
Well, I didn't want to spoil it yet for your listeners.
Okay.
If you want me to tell you what happened.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute. You can answer it any way you want. I would like that answer, but to me, I agree with you. It was an absolute embarrassment the way he treated the citizens of Phoenix, Arizona, and the surrounding communities who had these eyewitness accounts of what was going on. And I could see where people were very upset at him about this. Do you think at any time he was tipped off either by the military or by the federal government or some alphabet agency to shut up going into that press conference?
All that I'll say is, because I don't get into religion or politics, but I will say that according to Frances Barwood, Vice Mayor, Councilwoman, and she's very forthcoming about this, she felt that, he was under indictment for, I think it was 7 indictments for something. I won't get into that. But not only after he did this was everything squashed, okay, and forgiven, but he was also forgiven by Clinton. I don't know if you know that.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know. Ask Barwood.
That's a little coincidental.
The point is, because the story gets better. Okay. Here we have him doing this. Okay. And I'll get back to Symington, I promise. But after he did this, and what's interesting is that if you watch that report on the news, the audience, the press and whatever, and there were parents there too, were like laughing when he said it, when the guy came out and he said, you guys are being much too serious about this. Then he asked them to turn off the cameras. I was at a conference, the Contact in the Desert, and I was doing a workshop, and I'm telling the story, and a girl raises her hand. She says, I was there at that press conference. I said, really? She said, after he told them to turn off the cameras, they went ballistic on him. Okay, they were so pissed off that he did that. So people never heard about that, and this is what she said to me. But that was the press conference. Plus, there is a fellow behind him who had sunglasses on, who was an officer at the time, and he came up to me every year in March. I host a celebration of the anniversary of the Phoenix Lights at the Scottsdale Harkin Shea Theater, and hopefully this year we'll be able to celebrate the 20th anniversary. If anybody's in town, Scottsdale, please, I invite you. It'll be March 20th, Sunday, March 20th, and we're sold out every single year, so get your tickets early. But because we show the documentary on the big screen. It's won a dozen International Film Festival awards, and we have speakers, and we have Native American Rangers from Navajo Rangers that speak, and we have a Q&A. People don't want to leave. They literally turn the lights off and on to get us out of the theater because it's a mainstream event. But at any rate, one year, this guy comes up to me when I'm signing books, and he says, just want to let you know, I was the fellow behind Symington, and I was never so embarrassed in my entire life when he did that. I mean, it really was an embarrassment. Anyway, after that happened, it was like, okay, this is getting ridiculous. I've got to find out what's going on. So I started calling military bases and tried to get as high up as I could. Because after he did that press conference, it put a lid on things, okay, but not for me. And I have some of those conversations, which are quite comical in my book. One guy said, I don't know whoever did this, only God and whoever did this knows who did it. Kind of, that was his answer, okay. And they were more interested in, because we have a number of military bases here, David Monson and Luke Air Force Base and a couple others. They were more interested in seeing my data, and I never gave them details. I just said I did take some photographs. And a month after that press conference, I get a call. This is July 24th from one of the heads of the Air National Guard. And she says, oh, Dr. Lynne, I think we know what those lights were back in March. And I was thrilled because I was looking for any logical explanation. She says, do you believe in all these months nobody ever looked at the log for visiting Air National Guard, and the Maryland Air National Guard was sending off military illumination flares in Operation Snowbird, which I later found out in military terms means diversionary tactical maneuvers, which they may very well have been sending off flares, even though not one person that saw the true unknowns describes any flare characteristics. But I said to her, well, when was the Maryland Air National Guard in town? She says March 1st to the 15th. I said, were they in town in January? She says, oh no. I said, are you sure? She says, absolutely not. I said, well, my husband and I both saw the same exact phenomena in the same exact location 2 months before the mass site. I even got photographs of them. She said, you never told me that. And I said, besides that, you're trying to tell me that flares that cannot I'm sorry, did you ask something?
No.
No, I said flares that cannot keep a formation, that drift, and by then I had educated myself to military illumination flares, anything logical, that drift and drop with the wind haphazardly. They're sent off of jets with parachutes, and they just drift with the wind slowly downward, and have huge smoke trails that are illuminated by the flare itself and are meant to illuminate the area around it. And again, not one person described that saw the true unknowns. I said, and you're trying to tell me that flares that cannot keep a formation more than a couple seconds maybe traverse the entire state in a rock solid, equidistantly spaced V formation, mile wide for hours? And she says, I have a call coming in. I'll get back to you. Well, I'm still waiting, Dave. That call 25 years later. Anyway, that convinced me more than ever that, whoa, something's going on here. Okay. Well, interestingly, I actually called. Okay. She said that she had already contacted the Arizona Republic. I called them right after I talked to her. I called my sister-in-law in Delaware. It was her birthday, July 24th. And the first thing she says to me is, wow, Lynn, we just heard on the news that the lights you saw back in March 13th, 97, were actually flares. Now, they heard about it before we even got the announcement here in Arizona. Okay. Keep that thought. Okay. So how do they, news travels fast. Okay. But after I got off the phone with her, I thought, you know what, I've got to call the Arizona Republic and get this reporter to realize that there was a lot more to the story and that what we saw was not flares. How could he announce they were flares, right? And I get him on the phone and I said, look, I'm saying anonymous, but I'm happy to somehow get you the data and share with you over the phone that there is much more to the story. And what we saw was not flares. They may have sent off flares, but that's not what the Phoenix lights were. And he says, I'm sorry, I'm on a deadline. And he hung up on me. The next day, front page headlines, Phoenix lights were flares. Okay, well,
let's continue that when we come back here.
Okay.
Because we are going to go to break here. Was it flares or was it aliens? My hand is up for aliens, because that's what I believe the Phoenix lights were on March 13th, 1997. Dr. Lynne Kitei is here tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're rocking out, talking about Phoenix. There's a lot more to this story than what we know, and Dr. Lynne is going to walk us right down that path when we return here on the mighty SOR. Stay tuned. All right, we're clear.
Okay, can you get me off from seeing everybody?
Sure, I could do that for you. Hi, Eric with a K. Welcome back to your third favorite show. We're number 3. We're number 3, Big Bad Eric. YJ Overlander, how are you, buddy? Number 3, Eric. Number 3, buddy. All right. Justin S., welcome. No, it wasn't me. You couldn't hear my sneezes. I mute. Excuse me. I muted everything. And kind of go from there. I think she's ready.
Yeah.
There she is.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can they hear me?
They can hear you.
Hi, everybody.
Everyone can hear you. Such a...
Buy one, get one for $1 at McDonald's. Or as we like to call it, the can't have just one deal. Mix and match a sausage biscuit, sausage McGriddles, McChicken biscuit, chicken McGriddles, or crispy hash browns. Want 2 sausage biscuits? Buy one, get one for $1. Want a sausage biscuit and hash browns? That's cool too. Choose more of what you love. Buy one, get one for $1 at McDonald's. Prices and participation may vary. Valid for item of equal or lesser value. Cannot be combined with combo meal.
It happens a lot at Whataburger. You take your first bite and suddenly you have a flavor epiphany. When things come together in a flavorful flash of, well, first bite perfection. Melty cheese, crispy bacon, and the smoky heat of Hatch green chilies all coming together bite after perfect bite. Good thing there's the limited time Hatch Green Chili Bacon Burger and new Hatch Green Chili Bacon Chicken Sandwiches at Whataburger. Available by dine-in, drive-thru, curbside, and delivery. Delivery available in select locations. Fees may vary.
Lovely turquoise on you tonight.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, I hope we have enough time. I just want to get into a little bit of how it affected people in real time and long term. And I'm almost finished. I'm going to get to 10 years after the mass sighting. A couple of cool things happened.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm at your disposal here tonight.
So sweet. Thank you for listening and sharing.
Oh, my goodness. I love this story. I love this story.
I hope your audience does too. Well, there's much more to this story. I'm just giving you can you believe, the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, I know. I know.
Enough to whet people's appetite that hopefully they'll read the book, because that was a 750-page journal that I squeezed down once I did a lot of soul searching, because I did not want to come forward, to 230 pages, and I've just been adding to it. It's in its 4th print.
Well, I have a bunch of questions for you. So I considering
I want to finish off the story real quick.
Yes.
I'll do that within 5 minutes.
All right, because you got my brain running around at like 168 miles an hour right now, and I thank you for that.
Oh yeah, it is mind-boggling, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So many questions. So many questions. We got a couple minutes here. Or no, we got, about 2 minutes. For some reason, I thought we were like half an hour ahead. David S., welcome to the channel. And Stu F. and Gerson. How you doing? Let's see. Who else do we got here? Ian Herdman. And Eric with a K, we are your 3rd favorite show. We're number 3. We're in the bronze medal position again. It's been years since I was in the top 3. Years.
Good for you.
Yeah. We got about a minute here. Are you having fun?
I hope everyone's having as good a time as I am.
I am.
Very good. Good.
This is one I may replay going into bed tonight.
Oh. Well, I hope it gives you sweet dreams.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Lazarus. All right, we have 30 seconds. I want to say a big thank you to Science Bob, Murray, Magnus, Gary, R&R times 2, Spooky, Smithy, Nicola, Mark, and Lori for the amazing super chats. It's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Don't forget you can get your SOR swag by going shopping at our store on our website, so make sure you check that on out, especially you, Eric, with a K. All right, here we go, everyone. We got 5 seconds. Let's rock and roll. Phoenix Lights, here we go. Past the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. I want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading up on Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight talking about the Phoenix Lights, March 13th, 1997. What really happened there? Was it what the military said, that it was flares and military action in the air, or was it UFOs? Dr. Lynne Kitei is here tonight talking about it. Let's get right to it. Dr. Lynne, welcome back.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to be here. And this is another thing that people might not know about. 3 years after the mass sighting, Councilwoman Vice Mayor Frances Barwood was running for Secretary of State on a platform to get answers for the Phoenix Lights, even just as a public safety issue. And she was asking for a reenactment, which was brilliant because, again, I'm a show me person. Hey, if it was military, shame on them for denying it and going right over people's heads. But nonetheless, show me. If you did it, I have documentation that have gone to extreme lengths to have analyzed and authenticated that no one can give me answers at military and university. But if it was military, do it again. Right before the 3rd anniversary, we get a public announcement, big time, on TV, on the radio. 3 Air National Guards were coming into town. I believe it was New York, Michigan, and California, to show everyone the Phoenix Lights. Now, whether they thought it would confuse the issue, diffuse the issue, whatever, it was a joke. Talk about a joke. If you go on a news page, which is also packed with so much material to explore and to consider, you will find that there is in the middle somewhere there is a little block that says AZ Family, and it shows exactly what they did that night. They tried to make a triangle. It was upside down. It fell apart immediately. It had huge smoke trails, just what flares do. In fact, they were supposed to do a 2-week run, and after they were the laughingstock by witnesses and the media alike, after that attempt to reenact the Phoenix Lights, which was an ultimate failure for them, that really put the nail in the coffin for them. To date, the Phoenix Lights has never been reenacted or explained, but it continues to appear around the world. And it's pretty cool because people now will look at similar phenomena and say, hey, there's the Phoenix Lights. And if you go on the photo page again, you'll see subsequent sightings that I also had. In fact, one of the most amazing sightings, and I won't ruin it for anybody that's going to read the book, was a month after 9/11. And that particular picture is on the cover of my book. And I would love someone to tell me what they are. Okay, I don't know what they are, but I know that they are. And it's time we get this topic out in the open address it, accept it, and study it so we can not only find out who's driving these things, but also move forward in our own evolution. I mean, let's be real. We know now with the Kepler and the other telescopes that are out there that there are billions of other galaxies along with ours. And all those other galaxies have stars, that trillions of stars that have their own planets around them. And when a star bursts, the living ingredients of life, oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, amino acids, carbons, are spread throughout the universe. Our one Milky Way galaxy is about 13 to 14 billion years old. Our solar system is a very young solar system. It's only 6 billion years old. There may be other, and scientists are postulating now, there may be other sentient entities out there, billions of years ahead of us, not only out there, but here now and living among us. Who knows? But be that as it may, it's really important at this point to just fast forward real quick to 10 years after the mass sighting. And actually, right after the 10th anniversary of the Phoenix Lights, for whatever reason, former Governor Fife Simon came forward to admit bravely that he actually he witnessed one of these craft. And in his own estimation, as an awarded military pilot, it definitely wasn't flares. And in his own words, it was otherworldly, which is what other countries, I learned, are much more open to these phenomena being otherworldly, they would put it. And then also in 2017, a lot of things happened. Not only did we have that front page Pentagon, report that Harry Reid funded a $22 million study, military and government study at the Pentagon of UFOs, of unexplained aerial phenomena, they call it now. But also, just in the last couple of years, the Nimitz pilots have come forward, not only to describe what they saw, and we've seen video of these things that are oval shaped, which is very similar to what my husband and I saw outside our window. Plus, they also say that they shrunk, just like my husband and I saw. So again, I don't know if they're the same phenomena, but they certainly have similar characteristics. The other thing that's really amazing that we need to focus on as well, and I mentioned earlier that when I called the air traffic controllers at Sky Harbor the morning after the mass sighting, they had mentioned that a couple of pilots had called in, a commercial airline pilot saying, what the hell are these lights over me? And a private pilot to report the 6 lights in a V formation. Well, that private pilot, and it's amazing because I thought the fact that pilots called in was really significant. And I did mention it in the original book, which I finally came forward with. I squeezed the best of what I found in the 230 pages and came forward in 2004. And I have a mention of the pilots calling into the tower. The private pilot finally came forward, just I think in 2017 as well. And that was actor Kurt Russell. And not only was he coming into Sky Harbor with his son, they have a place out in Carefree. But one of the significant things, and I'm going to get into how it affected people at a very, very deep level, but he says in his report, and his report is on the news page, the UK report from the news page on the Phoenix Lights Network website. If anybody goes there, they'll find it there. And it's a wonderful report where he describes that he was on approach to Sky Harbor. His son, and it's interestingly because kids, and this guy was more of a young adult, but kids were usually the ones to alert their parents that this massive V was coming towards them. And he said to his dad, what is that? And he notices that the 6 lights in a V, and they were very close to it. And he says, I better call into the tower to report it. He reported it, and they never talked again about it. And this happened to other people as well. A couple years later, he walks in to his home, and he was living with Goldie Hawn, and she was watching a show, and they were talking about the Phoenix Lights. And he thought, boy, that was like a Richard Dreyfuss moment. Like, it sounded really familiar. And he goes and he looks at his log, and lo and behold, he's that pilot that called into the tower, which is really amazing. The more credible people that come forward, the more credibility it lends to the whole topic. So I always welcome people. And that's the other thing. That's the other thing, Dave, how it affected people in real time. You know, the movie Independence Day was huge, like 6 months before the mass sighting. And we're so inundated. And we go into this in the documentary. It's an important aspect of this whole genre, is that we are so inundated with threat, and harm, that Dr. Gary Schwartz, who was the head of the Consciousness Study Department at the University of Arizona, made a very profound statement. He said, if you're inundated with the threat factor, how do you think you're going to react when you see something that you're supposed to be afraid of, right? And what happened was that when children would see this mile-wide V coming towards them, they would jump up and down, Independence Day, Independence Day. But as it got closer, a calmness came over everyone, adults and children alike. The children wanted their parents to run, to get in their car and run after it. In real time, a connectiveness came over everyone to the phenomena that changed their life forever in real time. And I hear it over and over and over again. But even more significant is long term. I still hear from people. I mean, people went into the peace movement. People went into the environmental movement for the first time. It woke them up to the fact that we're not alone in the universe. It's not a belief anymore. It's a knowing. And nothing was more clear about that than when a number of witnesses had described to me personally that they had had near-death experiences as children that was reawakened by the mass sighting. And Dave, that blew me away because I did too. And I don't think we're going to have time for me to get in my near-death experience, but I lay it all out there in the book. But it changed my life forever. And I was 8 years old. I thought when I came back, I thought everybody knew the secret. Everybody was psychic. Everybody was empathic. And what was significant, though, is that at that point, I thought, geez, maybe there's a connection between all unexplained phenomena, whether it's near-death experience, out-of-body experience, unexplained aerial phenomena, that have a mystical light associated with the experience. And lo and behold, again, when I started looking, there was so much credible data out there concerning the UFO phenomena. But again, there was credible data concerning this phenomena at the Omega Project, which is like 4 inches thick, from the University of Connecticut, Dr. Kenneth Ring, and Dr. Bruce Grayson, who was a near-death experience guru, and Dr. Stuart Twemblow, and even Dr. John Mack at Harvard. My very first presentation, I was invited to speak at the Tucson Medical Center with Dr. John Mack, whose specialty, the PEER Institute, PEER Institute, was the study of abduction contact patients, and essentially. And he was just writing a book on the connection between all unexplained phenomena. And I was scared to death. This was a month before I came forward officially. This was February of 2004. And not only did he allay my fears, and certainly I don't get into abduction. That's a whole nother issue. My whole thing is contact. But he assured me that just to get the data out there is really, really important. So, I finally, even though I was very precarious for a physician to come forward and I had gone back to work, I pushed my whole medical career aside for 7 years to find a logical source of meaning for what I had witnessed and photographed. I have yet to find it 25 years later. And I did so much soul searching. I did not want to come forward. But what do you do with that, Dave? I mean, here I went to extreme lengths to have my 35 millimeter, the only 35 millimeter that exists that we know of, analyzed and authenticated and university and military level, and no one could give me an answer. In good conscience, how could I stick it in a drawer? And anyway, ultimately, I did come forward, which was really interesting because I went back to work to help put our younger son through medical school at the Arizona Heart Institute. I was chief clinical consultant of the Wellness and Imaging Center, the heart test to see if you have calcium built up in your arteries. And nobody knew that behind closed doors, in between patients, I was editing down that 750 pages to the 230 pages. When I came forward, I could not believe that doctors and nurses would pull me aside and start telling me their stories and how it changed their lives. Because once you have, because when I found the connection between all unexplained phenomena, the awakening, the enlightenment, the change in worldview that changes people forever, the connectedness that the individual that has what I started calling an UP, unexplained phenomena, UP, an UP, experience a connectedness to the universe and to the earth and to each other that they probably have never ever felt before. And like I said, it wasn't a belief anymore. It was a knowing. And I know when people read the book, I have to tell you, because people are still feeding into the flare theory, if you could believe that. But it was the boomerang videos that really got hit for that. I don't know if we have time for me to tell you a little story about.
We got 8 minutes. We got lots of time.
8 minutes. Okay. The August after the mass sighting, I learned, because once I had these pictures, I did get in contact with, because it was amazing. Okay, let me go back. I'm talking about coincidence. A week after the mass sighting, on Tuesday night, after that Thursday mass sighting, I see this guy on the news, and they're showing my video again. I mean, it was big news for weeks, okay? And they kept showing my video. And I see my video again pop up on the news, and they're interviewing a guy who had a huge computer lab right by Arizona State University, Jim Delatoso, who also on the side for a couple decades had been analyzing video and pictures of the same exact phenomena from all over the world. And he was showing photographs from Belgium and UK, and that was the first I heard that this was happening worldwide, from, of these orbs in triangle formations. Blew me away. And so then I knew at that point, I mean, I had to contact him, which I did. So there were just a couple of people, and I finally contacted Barwood and a couple other people. But essentially, I was really anonymous until I came forward in 2004 and didn't look back. I couldn't believe how many people, once they read the book, really appreciated the work that went into it. It helps people, and I didn't even realize that it did that. I just wanted to get the data out there, and then once I saw that was so boring, I figured, what the hell with it? I'm just going to tell the whole story as it unfolded, including my own near-death experience when I was 8 years old, and I till today. And very important too, as I came forward, not only as a scientist and try to be as scientific as possible, as a physician, to let people know that they're not crazy. Even though most anomalies can be explained, only a small percentage cannot. Just because we don't have the technology yet to definitively define what these things are, it doesn't mean they're not real. We may just be looking on the AM dial for an FM frequency. But I wanted people to know that they're not alone, that there's many other people out there. And once you have a paranormal experience, and you should know, Dave, it can fester if you don't share it.
Oh, yeah.
It's not healthy. I knew myself, again, not only as a physician, but as an experiencer. I knew what that was like. It's healing. It's cathartic. And I welcome people to either email me from the website, Phoenix Lights Network. There's a contact right at the top, goes right to my email. Or
Hello, Archie Manning here. When you grow up in a town like Drew, you understand, once a Mississippian, always a Mississippian. I love this place and care about what happens here. Our doctors are telling us 95% of new hospital patients who have COVID did not get vaccinated. We know the vaccine works, but only if you get it. It's easy and it works. Please get vaccinated, my friends, and stay healthy.
Sponsored by Delta Health Alliance. Go to getyourshotms.org.
It's the classic dilemma at Whataburger. You pick up your patty melt with 2 fresh all-beef patties, melted Monterey Jack cheese, grilled onions, and creamy pepper sauce, and just when you're about to dig into Whataburger's take on this all-time classic, someone utters the dreaded words.
Can I have a bite?
Should you? Shouldn't you? Maybe you just take a big bite so you don't have to answer. Good thing that dilemma's over. Good thing there's the Patty Melt at Whataburger.
Facebook, Phoenix Lights Network, Facebook page. It's really healing. It's important to share with just one person. So I welcome people to share. But being as it may, as an educator, Dave, how could I stick what I have? And I really thought about it in a drawer, and I really thought about it. I thought, you know what? I'm just going to tuck everything away, and years from now, I'll show it to my grandchildren, who, by the way, are really into it, and see what they say, right? But the only person that read my 750-page journal was my younger son, who is a neurologist now. He's also an angel on this earth. And he happened to be home for a month. And I said, Dan, I don't know what to do with this. It was a mishmash of so many things, media and interviews and whatever, and history. Just give me some advice here. And he looked at me after he said, Mom, this is too important not to share. And everything you've done has come up to this. You have to share this. And, you know, from the mouth of babes. And I've been doing health reporting since 1976. I've been doing everything from writing and reading and researching and going out in the field and shooting and whatever. And that really hit me. And then after I came forward, I started doing radio programs like this into the night and Barnes & Noble on the weekend and tours and borders. And some parents had seen me here locally. And don't ask me how they arranged it, because it was not a topic for schools, okay? It still isn't. It's really hard to get into the schools. But I was contacted by parents to present at a middle school here. And I was also contacted by a number of filmmakers who wanted to do a film, and I didn't have time. I was working 7 to 7 at the Heart Institute, doing the interviews like this into the night and the borders tours. And I went to this school. There were 200 students there. And youth is dear to my heart. My video and workbook curriculums have been distributed for years by Discovery Education on AIDS and teen pregnancy and substance abuse prevention education programs. And I was thrilled to be able to present, even though I really didn't have much together at the time. You could hear a pin drop. And I asked, how many here believe that we're alone in the universe? Not one hand went up. I said, how many here believe that we're not alone in the universe? Every hand went up. And I finished my talk. I showed them a little bit of video. I didn't even have anything together at the time that was really professional. They wouldn't stop clapping. And I thought, whoa, you know, these kids thirst for this knowledge. And there was nothing out there in our history books about this stuff. So that really pushed me, because I was approached by one filmmaker whose dad actually was a doctor that we knew. And he went to Brooks Institute of Photography, graduated Brooks Institute of Photography, which was one of the places that analyzed my data. He said, I'm coming with equipment in June. I said, whoa. I said, I don't have time for this. I said, plus people that, you know, I take confidentiality very seriously for anyone that does want to contact me as a physician. And I said, I've been contacted now that I've come forward by email from dozens and dozens and dozens, like thousands now, of people. I will not, you know, they have to trust my confidentiality. I don't think that they would want to come forward. I don't know if they would want to come forward. I said, I'm going to have to check with people first, because I don't know if anybody would want to do this. And by the way, the professors that I work with, not only down at the University of Arizona, Dr. Gary Schwartz, but I went to the head of the optical sciences department at the Arizona State University, and he got a whole group together of scientists who have been studying these things for years, a clandestine group. And then he became vice president of research. He's actually in our documentary for a second. But they can lose their grants if they mention UFOs at the time. So I went to all of them, and every single person except one who came on board later said they would do it. And I'm so grateful for the people that came into the documentary, and we started filming and in June. And by the end of June, I mean, it was just so overwhelming. I had to make a decision, and you know what decision I made. I haven't turned back. So and that's the other thing. That's the other thing. From my near-death experience, and I don't think we have time to get into it today, but I did meet beings during my near-death experience that were giant beings above the earth. And I have felt I met three. There were three of them in giant white robes with hoods over their heads. And I even tried to see their faces, but I couldn't see their faces. But I felt their unconditional love for me. They knew who I was. And I came back with very profound. And my family wasn't religious at all. It's nothing that I would have ever taught or whatever, that really changed my life forever, and that I share in the book. But be that as it may, the point is that when you have an unexplained phenomena experience,
Right.
it does change you forever. And I'm sure you have a lot of questions, and I'm open to that. And I have a lot more to this story, but
we'll get to those questions in the next half hour as Dr. Lynne Kitei is with us tonight on Spaced Out Radio. The Phoenix Lights, we have Dr. Lynne for another 30 minutes. Then the fedora-wearing John Hudson will come in for the unbiased UFO report. We have a jam-packed Hour 3 next on the mighty SOR. All right, we're clear.
And if Dave,
Yeah.
Can you hear me? If you like, I will get into a little bit about what I brought back
Sure.
from my near-death experience, because I think it would help, and also a picture that I've now added to
Sure.
the 4th edition of the book. Okay, is that
Cool.
okay?
That's fine by me.
Okay. Are we doing okay?
We're doing great. When we get to the break of the next half hour, when I say goodnight to you, just stick through the break, and then I will say a proper goodnight during the break, okay?
Okay.
All right. We are awesome! Loving this.
Is the audience enjoying it?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Yes,
That's
they
the
are.
important thing.
All right. Yeah, we're all having fun here listening to you tonight.
Listening to this crazy lady, right? Does it sound crazy?
No, not at all.
Well, I try to make it as credible and professional as I can, but it is what it is.
Very nice.
And I do want to get in the Raising Arizona thing. I have to remind myself.
All right. I'll bring you on out there for a second. I'm having fun tonight with this. Are you back, Dr. Lynne? Are you back?
I'm back.
That was quick. That was quick. Yeah, everybody's saying, we're the crazy ones here, Dr. Lynne. Sovereign wants to know if your favorite word is equidistant.
Equidistant?
Equidistant.
Why?
I don't know. I guess he's heard you say it a few times. Felipe Friero, welcome to our chat room. How are you? Lots of new faces in here tonight. This is awesome. I love this case. Love this.
There's so much more. That's the thing. I would love to send you the ebook, but I tried to do it to someone else in Canada and outside the United States, and they won't let me do it.
Really?
Yeah. But you can get it on Amazon.
I'll check it on out.
UK, it's only $9. I would love to gift you. Just know that.
All right. Perfect. Jay Unknown, long time, first time. Just wanted to say that the Phoenix Lights is one of my favorite cases. Thanks for having this topic tonight. Welcome, Jay. Welcome. We'll have a few claps for Jay and Karen Dancher for coming into our chat room for the first time. Clap for you both. The gorgeous Anne Celine, what is happening? I'm surprised nobody mentioned that I changed guitars around. I moved the red one in. Nobody noticed.
Are you a player?
I'm learning. I take lessons with my boy. Well, my boy takes lessons weekly. I go every couple weeks.
How's he doing with it?
He's awesome. He's getting so good. I think he's already surpassed me. Eventually, I'm going to do an entire studio shift here. And what you see behind me will actually be beside me, which will be cool. I'm looking forward to that. Change it up a little bit. It never hurts. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And then I'm going to put a big green screen back behind me.
That'll be cool.
Yeah. So, I'm looking forward to it. Well, thank you, Bat Mom. I did change my guitars. Thank you for noticing. Mm-hmm. All right, we have about 90 seconds. There we go. So much fun tonight. The gorgeous Thin Lizzie Borden. How's it going? No, he's not on my son's not on Slash yet. He's more learning Metallica. He loves his Metallica. We got about 45 seconds. Want to say a big thank you to Science Bob, Murray, Magnus, Gary, R&R ×2, Spooky, Smithy, Nicola, Mark, and Lori for kicking off the great Super Chats tonight. We really do appreciate the love and support through the Super Chat. It's a great way to support what we do on this show. A big thank you to everyone who's gone shopping on our website, spacedoutradio.com/shop, grabbing your T-shirts, your hat, like Uncle... or make that Grandpa Holland with his Bigfoot hat that he's got playing my favorite guitar that he has. I'm so jealous of that guitar. All right, thank you to all the vets who are tuning us in. We really do appreciate it, and we're going to get going here right now.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club, Xenodokium. Xenodokium is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as a clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading up on Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, Dr. Lynne Kitei is with us tonight, talking the Phoenix Lights. Yes, March 13th, 1997. This is the UFO case, in my opinion, that needs the most recognition next to Roswell. We need to know what happened here. Too many eyewitnesses, too many military bases around, and too many people from famous to little kids trying to figure out still to this day what happened on that fateful night in Phoenix, Arizona. Dr. Lynne, welcome back.
Great to be here. In fact, as you mentioned, and more military are coming forward to me now that they're retiring. and actually just had an email a couple months ago from the gal that was on the weather station at Luke Air Force Base that night. And she divulged to me that she was getting dozens of calls and went outside and actually saw it herself. So anyway, it's amazing how people, and especially credible people that come forward. We have a share page on the Phoenix Lights Network website that we just posted her report if people want to check it out, and some other military reports of people that have bravely come forward. And it's time we get this out in the open, as I said, and address it, accept it, and study it, so we can get it out in the open and learn what's really going on. I mean, when I had my near-death experience, and I won't get into the details, but I did mention that I did meet 3 giant beings in glowing white robes above the earth. And you could call them the Watchers. Okay, that'll give you a little spoiler there. But when I came back from my near-death experience, not only did I feel that they've been with me as guides throughout my life, and whenever I've come to a crossroads, I ask for guidance. I don't hear voices, but I get strong feelings for things. And one of the things that, first of all, I came back with, if I could lend something to the audience, 3 important words, 3 A's: awareness for things that come before you. I've always felt that everything is there for a reason, and I try to make the best of it. And, for anybody out there, do you just blow off things, or do you really take note with your eyes open of what you're being gifted with, whether it's people or events or opportunities? So awareness is really important in your lifetime, if you choose. It's all a choice. Attitude. Positive and negative attitude are really poignant and powerful. I have seen it in medicine. I have seen in medicine not only with negative mindset, people getting more ill, but also positive mindset, people actually healing themselves. It's amazing when you really look at the data. And again, I try to be as scientific as I can, and the data is there. When it's like the man that cried because he didn't have shoes until he saw the man that didn't have feet. And what I do at night is actually mark down the things from that day that I appreciate. And it's amazing, if you feed into that, you really have more of a positive outlook. And that's the third thing: appreciation, gratitude. Every day there's something to be thankful for. So if I can lend those 3 A's to you, each and every one of you out there: attitude, awareness, attitude, and appreciation. If you can bring them into your life, it really will help open your eyes to the wondrous possibilities out there. Now, going back to the beings that I met, and I haven't seen beings that I know of, although going back to the missing time, something might have happened there. Okay, that's a whole nother story that we can talk about another time. But I have trusted in the guidance. There are intelligences out there that if you ask for their guidance, if you ask for their help, they're out there. And if you're aware enough that you can get feelings for things, as I've become and I've trained myself, here's just an example. My background, not only in medicine, but before, actually as a child, I was in professional musical theater as a singer, dancer, actress, and toured with Gordon McRae in Oklahoma, Betty Grable, if you know that name, in Guys and Dolls. I understudied Barbara Eden, Jeannie. I Dream of Jeannie. I understudied her in Sound of Music. I also did Broadway. I did Alice in Wonderland with Sherman Hemsley. I don't know if you remember the show Jeffersons.
Yes, how can you not?
That before he got that part, he was the caterpillar, and he would crack me up every show. And the movie Raising Arizona. Talk about a little bit of a coincidence, okay? Before I get to that one, when I was in a month before I started medical school, and here's where I've come to trust the guidance, and so many times, but I was touring with Barbara Eden in Sound of Music, and I got a call from Leon Uris, who had written the book Exodus, was a bestseller. Exodus, real thick book. The movie was a giant hit with Paul Newman and a whole host of other stars. And now he was doing the musical. Don't ask me how he heard about me, but he called me to audition for the Ingenue. So I had a 3-octave college tour soprano voice and began studying at the age of 14 with Dr. Robert Page, head of the music department at Temple University. At any rate, he flies me to New York City. I'm in the Schubert, one of the big theaters there. And I knew that I was starting medical school in a month. Now, this was 1970. And there were only a handful of women in my class of 120 students at the time. But this was a chance of a lifetime. I auditioned. It got down to 2 of us. And ironically, talk about a coincidence, the other person was Jacqueline Mayrow, who was at my elementary school back east. She was a prima ballerina and was plucked out to do the original role of Baby June in Gypsy on Broadway with Ethel Merman. And it was between the 2 of us. And when I learned that it was between the 2 of us, I thought, oh my gosh, what should I do? What if I get the part? And I did some soul-searching, heavy-duty soul-searching. And the answer I got was I have to go to medical school. One day I'll find out why. That was the message I got. And I called Leon Uris up and I told him, and he wasn't too pleased with me. So I may have gotten the part, but I will never know. But the show went on the road, as Broadway shows do, like in Boston, and they try out shows for a few weeks elsewhere. Came into New York. It opened and closed in 3 weeks. I would have been dead meat if I had taken that part. So that's just one of many, many times where I've trusted.
This is Peacock. I love it! It's streaming your favorite shows, movies, live sports, breaking news, exclusive originals. It's The Office. That's what she said. Chrisley Knows Best.
It's gonna be Todd's Way or the Highway.
And Peacock original shows like Punky Brewster.
Holy macanoli.
So whether you're in the mood for every live WWE pay-per-view or every episode of Law & Order SVU, Peacock's got you covered. Peacock. Watch for free, upgrade for more. Stream now at peacocktv.com.
When getting the job done right is job one, you need construction equipment that's built right. From compact track loaders to the world's #1 selling compact excavator, the Kubota construction lineup features durable Kubota engines, more comfort, and the versatility to do it all and do it right. Visit your local Kubota dealer today. Go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Lee Tractor Company. On the web at leetractor.net.
Did the guidance. The other was when I asked my girlfriends, why do I have this? I don't want to do this. It's so controversial. It's so dangerous for me to come forward with this stuff. And they looked at me and said, Lynn, you've been doing this for 40 years with vital health issues. If you can do something credible and professional with this, you can. And it was like, okay. I went out on the balcony one night, and a lot of paranormal things happened after the mass sighting, which I won't spoil here. It's in the book. But I went out on the balcony and I just looked up at the sky. And again, I don't hear voices, but I sent out a message. If I'm really supposed to do this, show me the way. I surrender. If I'm supposed to use my expertise and professionalism and do this in a credible way, just show me the way. And ever since that day, the puzzle pieces just keep fitting together. I don't know where it's going to lead, but it keeps fitting together, which has brought me here with you today. Another interesting aside before we get, I know you have some questions, which I think your audience will appreciate. You said you saw the movie Raising Arizona?
Yes.
The movie Raising Arizona? Okay. I played the mother in that movie, Flores, Arizona. I'll be mortified when somebody comes up to me and says, oh, I recognize you from Raising Arizona. 3 hours of makeup and whatever. And there's a funny story with that too, if we have time to tell you how I got the part. But when I auditioned for the part. But what was really amazing is when I did come forward and I started speaking, I think it was 2005 or 6, somebody came up to me at one of the conferences and says, you know, there's a reference to UFOs and your character in Raising Arizona. And I said, really? Because I hadn't watched it since it came out in 87. 10 years before the mass sighting, right? So I go back to look, and if anybody doesn't know what Raising Arizona was, it's a hit Coen Brothers movie with Holly Hunter, Nicolas Cage, William Forsythe, John Goodman, Frances McDormand, Holly Hunter. I mean, just an unbelievable cast. And me, a little more, but at any rate. Holly Hunter, it's a black comedy. Holly Hunter and Nicolas Cage try to conceive and they can't. So they decide to kidnap one of the Arizona quintuplets. And after that happens, there's a press conference in front of our home. And one of the reporters sticks a microphone in my husband's face and says, "There's a rumor your son was abducted by UFOs. Is there any truth to that?" And my husband says, "Oh, please, son, please don't print that. If his mama reads that, she'll lose all hope," which is totally opposite from my own take, obviously. But what's interesting is this was 10 years before that, call it coincidence, 10 years before the Phoenix Lights mass sighting, the only reference in the entire movie to UFOs. And gets even more interesting, the cinematographer, you're going to find this interesting, Dave, the cinematographer who was just starting out too, a lot of the people except Nick Cage were just starting out then. And he went on to do When Harry Met Sally and Big and How the West Was Won with Will Smith and a whole host of others. And actually he developed, created, and directed the Men in Black series, which first premiered in 1997, the same year as the Phoenix Lights. Coincidence?
Hard to believe.
There you go. Do you have some questions? Because I can tell you a little bit about that audition, which is really cool, and what happened with Barry in the when we were shooting it. But if you have some questions, I want to make sure you get them in.
We have about just under 10 minutes left. Did you ever get an opportunity to speak with Kurt Russell about what he saw?
I tried. I have been trying. I really want to talk with him. I really do. But one of the things, I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the things that I mentioned earlier was that for a couple years, he never said a word. His son never said a word. They never spoke about it. And then suddenly, when he saw something about the Phoenix Lights, it was like a burst of light in his life. Well, there were a number of people. In fact, I write about a psychiatrist and his family that were coming up from Tucson. And he wasn't the only one. This has happened to. And he also had a near-death experience, by the way, in childhood. But he was coming up to Phoenix with his family for a swim meet. And his wife was driving. He was in the passenger seat. And one of these craft was right above their car. And he described it. He looked out the window and saw the gunmetal bottom and the lights and all, and said that the wingspan was way over. I mean, this is a big highway, I-10, between Phoenix and Tucson. The wings were way over on both sides of the fields there. And they all saw it, and they didn't say a word. And it wasn't until 6 months later that they saw something on TV, and suddenly it was like a plethora of excitement hit everyone and said, "Oh my God, we saw that." And then they started talking about it, but it wasn't until then, and it happened to other people too. So that was another interesting aspect of the Phoenix Lights mass sighting. Some people just buried it, and then suddenly they woke up with the whole memory of what happened. So that was Kurt Russell. But I have tried to contact him. If there's anybody out there that knows him, I just want to thank him. And actually, I think he would appreciate reading the book and learning more about what happened. And he's such a huge part of it now. And I'm so happy that he came forward, because he really lent a lot of interest and credibility to the story.
All right. The next question I have regarding Governor Fife Symington. Why do you think he waited so long to finally start talking about this? Like I mentioned earlier in the show, earlier this year, he spoke at the International UFO Conference. I mean, this is a guy who, has been, had mud on his face since this event. Why now do you think he came out?
Oh, that is such a good story. I don't know if it's part guilt or part that time had passed and he wasn't an elected official any longer, so he didn't feel that pressure. Um, and I think that, I hope that my coming forward in 2004 helped him come forward, feel more comfortable in coming forward when he ultimately did, because by the time he came forward, the cat was out of the bag. The military had already tried to reenact it and they failed. The story was really, I can only do things one way, and that's try my best to do my hardest to get the word out there like we're doing today. And the story really traveled quickly around the world. And I think that the credibility of the story got to a point where he felt comfortable coming forward and finally divulging what he had seen. And I'm really glad that he did. I think it was brave of him. He's the only elected official who's ever done that. What did he say, by the way? Did you hear this?
I haven't heard the conference. I know he came out, and this was his first UFO conference that he was speaking at, about what he saw, because it was a number of years ago he came out and actually said that he was an eyewitness of the event as well, and, downplayed what had happened, apologized for, doing what he did to make a fool out of the citizens there. But, he's the key to this, and we need to focus in on him.
Well, he rarely talks to the media, and I tried to contact him too. I just wanted to thank him for coming forward. And, I got the book and the documentary to his office. And then one of the people that are in the documentary, who's in the documentary, met with his son on another issue. She was involved with the peace movement and got him the book as well. And I never heard a word. I just wanted to thank him for coming forward. So I have not had an opportunity to chat with him yet, or Kurt Russell, and I look forward to that. I'm here, and I would love to. And thank goodness he did, really. I mean, it really took it to the next level, don't you think?
When the DNI report came out earlier this summer and said that it wasn't going to be dealing with events previous to the 2004 Nimitz case, do you think that was a slap in the face to the citizens of Phoenix too?
Whatever. We're doing our own thing, and we're getting the word out there. And there's many people who have contributed to getting the word out about the Phoenix Lights. And now we have the book, The Phoenix Lights: A Skeptic's Discovery That We Are Not Alone, in its 4th print. And I recommend, by the way, the ebook because it has live links and also colored pictures. And I share a picture, and I'll share this with you also, that I've never shared in the other editions. And by the way, when I first wanted to get the book published, and I went to the biggies, HarperCollins and Random House and Time Warner, they said, no, this is 2 books. This is a UFO book and a spiritual book. I said, no, that's the point. The Phoenix Lights, for all its glory, not only wanted to wake us up that we're not alone in the universe, but they wanted to wake us up to the spiritual beings that we are, to the potential we have in a positive way to make this world a better world. And we talk about that more in the book as well. So, the book itself is packed with stuff. And as far as the new picture, it's a picture that actually our older son took, and he's an attorney and a big skeptic. I mean, he kept saying, Mom, you better not come forward. They're going to find out it's military and you'll look like an idiot, right? Until this happened. And I won't spoil it for you. But he took a picture where my mother appeared, and he was very close with my mom, 10 years after her passing. And it is real. She is in the picture. Okay, I won't spoil it. As clear as can be. Okay, and that did it for me. It doesn't matter what anybody else says. There's characteristics that proved that it was her. And anyway, so I'll leave that for the audience to check out. Also, the documentary, which unfortunately now Amazon and other outlets don't make DVDs anymore. People, if you're in the States, can get the DVD from our website. I'm happy to get that together for people. But it is streaming on Amazon, and it's the Phoenix Lights Beyond Top Secret, and that's the latest edition. And we keep adding. In fact, the DVD has bonus features. We have astronaut Edgar Mitchell is in it, and he's wonderful. And he actually goes into the cover up in the DVD bonus features. And we have a 911 police operator that was on that night, a Phoenix police operator who got hundreds of calls. She's fabulous in it. We have witnesses and the analysis, and it's really a cool overview of the topic. And the book, of course, gets into much more detail. And then my latest adventure is a graphic novel activities coloring book. Can I grab them to show them real quick?
Sure, we got about 90 seconds.
Okay, hold on there.
Dr. Lynne Kitei here tonight on Spaced Out Radio. And wow,
Okay,
what a good show. All right, what do you got for us?
Okay. Well, here's the book. And by the way, if we have time, a month after the mass sighting, as I mentioned, there were a bunch of paranormal things that happened. And I did have automatic writing where I wrote down something in the dark with my eyes closed that actually sent me on this journey that brought me here to you today, which I am happy to read if you want to get to that in a second. Here is the documentary. Can you see?
Yes.
That? And they're all on the website. And here is the latest. Okay, this is the
Very
Phoenix
nice.
Lights, UFOs, and Crop Circles coloring book. Adventures of SUFO and UFO. He's a little alien here. And it's for all ages. I wanted to get something out there. I've been working on a curriculum for 9 years now to get into the classroom, which is not easy, okay? But I figured for the anniversary, I wanted to get something for all ages, from the Phoenix Light story, as well as 80 crop circles to color, as well as activities. We have word
Beautiful.
finders and all kinds of cool stuff in there for all ages, for parents and teachers and kids to all do together.
Beautiful. Dr. Lynne Kitei, thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. We will definitely do this again. Coming up next, we have the legendary fedora-wearing John Hudson with the Unbiased UFO Report, Shirky Poo's News, and the Thought of the Day. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. Great show, Doc.
Okay, I hope you don't mind that I wanted to plug
Not at all.
the new book.
You gave us your time, so that's the least we could do.
Oh, of course. So everything was okay with you?
It was
Good
perfect.
show?
It was amazing.
Good show? Okay. I
Thank
try to
you.
get in as much as I could. And I have to admit, I don't like to get into the political stuff or bash anyone. So I didn't want to get too much into the
Oh, I hear you.
Symington thing, but Frances Barwood really got pissed off
I bet.
because she thought that he, got away with a lot of stuff by, bashing the sighting initially.
Right.
But it was great that he came forward, and it's all good. See, did I get enough information out there?
Amazing amount. Amazing
Yeah?
amount.
And the comments were okay?
Oh, yeah. Everybody's loving you. Everybody's
Oh,
loving you.
No, I want to make sure they love the data. It speaks for itself. So thank you for letting me share it. I really
All right,
appreciate
Dr. Lynn. Much love to you, and thank you for
We'll talk
making time
soon.
for us, okay?
it. And if you would be kind enough to send me the links whenever it is,
Sure.
and I'll share them also with our fans because we have
Yeah,
thousands
we
out
can do
there.
that.
Okay,
We
thank
can do
you.
that. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Mwah. Keep looking up.
Absolutely. Gotta love Dr. Lynn. She's amazing. Oh, for the first time having her on, I'm still excited. I'm like feeling like a schoolgirl, all excited. All right, coming up next, we have John Hudson, the fedora-wearing John Hudson. We'll get him here momentarily. My goodness, why am I yawning so much? Oh, my God. Thank you, David S. There he is, everyone.
What's up, buddy? I was almost late. I was so into that interview.
Yeah, she was great.
She was fantastic, man. I was blown away. and so much empathy for everyone too. It was very impressive.
Yeah. Nice shirt.
Oh, did you ever hear about this place?
What is Hendo?
So it's a company that I almost went to work for. It's actually called ArcsPax, and they were basically building these little motors that, if you put them on a steel plate, they would actually hover off the plate about 2 inches. And he originally designed it for homes, which is what he's working on now. But as a way to get the word out, he actually made a actual hoverboard. And so it was called the Hendo hoverboard. And there's actually a video of it on YouTube of Tony Hawk at the facility, not too far from my house, on a ramp in the back warehouse, riding the hoverboard up and down the half pipe that they built. And it's actually pretty interesting technology.
That is very cool. Very cool.
It was fun stuff. Sharp Cat, the guy that invented it.
All right, we've got 2 minutes, buddy.
Yeah, man, that was I learned a lot from that. I haven't learned enough about Phoenix Lights, and that was a very compelling story. And I loved she was probably one of the more polished people you've had on in a while. It's like she really handled her time well, got a lot of data in. She was paced well. That was one hell of an interview.
Fantastic interview.
Yeah, I must admit, I don't know, Dave. Like one of the challenges I have with all this research is that, it almost seems likely to me that whatever caused the Phoenix Lights is a completely different, completely unrelated phenomenon to what caused, say, the Tic Tac. Mm-hmm. And that might be a completely different phenomenon than what caused the cubes on the East Coast. And I'm just, part of me is just, really, I wouldn't say worried, but, it's going to be quite challenging to debug this if it ends up being some drastically different catalysts for each of these events.
That's deep thought right there, John Hudson. Deep thought.
The other thing that makes really clear is that, you get into this and you think that there's no really good cases, that's why the world doesn't know about it. What you start to realize is there's a ton of really strong cases, and the world just didn't want to pay attention.
Hey, we're on the episode tonight, we're going fourth to first.
It's all good.
All right, big thank you to Smithy, R&R ×2, Nicola, Mark, Lori, Spooky, Gary, Magnus, Murray, and Science Bob for the super chats. Here we go with the final half hour, everyone. Get your horns up. Let's do this. We're around to third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including Rockin' Out to Bumblefoot, reading up on Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. Let's bring in the fedora-wearing John Hudson for the unbiased UFO report. And Big Bad John comes in to keep us updated on everything that's going on. John, thanks for joining us. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. My pleasure. Thanks, everyone, for sticking in, especially after that great interview. Do appreciate it.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. John,
Yeah,
we're going to
amazing.
start off with a little bit of drama tonight between the Black Vault's John Greenwald and scientist Eric Davis. This is turning into a real...
Hello, Archie Manning here. When you grow up in a town like Drew, you understand, once a Mississippian, always a Mississippian. I love this place and care about what happens here. Our doctors are telling us 95% of new hospital patients who have COVID did not get vaccinated. We know the vaccine works, but only if you get it. It's easy and it works. Please get vaccinated, my friends, and stay healthy.
Sponsored by Delta Health Alliance. Go to getyourshotms.org.
Is Whataburger's honey barbecue chicken strip sandwich a work of art? The 3 chicken strips covered in melted Monterey Jack are a study in contrast and surprise. And the honey barbecue sauce, while at first unexpected, becomes a sweet delight to the senses. Plus, there's the 2 thick slices of Texas toast that are the canvas for this tasteful creation. And you can eat it. Good thing there's a masterpiece you can really bite into. Good thing there's the honey barbecue chicken strip sandwich at Whataburger.
Social media fisticuffs, man.
Yeah, it's a really frustrating one, and it's frustrating at so many levels because, much respect to John Greenwald for his research and so forth, but he's very different online than he is in person, and there's something about his style that I don't know. It just for some reason it just seems to push people's buttons. Certain people, just some kind of a personality clash, and essentially, this has been building between John and John Greenwald and Eric Davis for a while. It's been a couple years of essentially, Eric Davis coming out and releasing as much information as he can without being arrested, and John Greenwald basically coming out and saying that because he can't show evidence for it, that he shouldn't be trusted and that you shouldn't believe him, and the problem is that and this is a little hard for me to describe, but basically for people that I've always known, like Eric, and I have several friends that I have one friend in particular that is at Eric's level of intelligence, and tend to have this kind of personality. They have such a personal aversion to lying. They have such a personal aversion to dishonesty that they'll often harm themselves by being too honest. They'll offend people. They will say the wrong things at certain times. They will harm themselves because of their honesty. And so for a lot of them to be accused of dishonesty is a real third rail. It's a real trigger point that will really set them off. And that's essentially what happened. And Eric Davis's response to the situation was way overboard. It was uncalled for. It was a bit vulgar. It wasn't clean play by any means. However, it was not done on Twitter. It was done in a private chat organization, a private chat room, it's like several of the ones that you and I are involved in that are usually kept, kind of, you don't speak about what's said. And John Greenwald is in that group. So we don't know what dialogue was going on between John and Eric, Greenwald and Davis before this explosion. It's not totally clear to me exactly why it was shared the way it was, but unfortunately, especially because Eric Davis is not on Twitter, it's now being put out on Twitter, and now John Greenwald is kind of using it as a way to say, look what a nasty guy this is. Look how he's treating me, blah blah blah. And the last thing I will say about this, because everyone should read it on their own, do their own research, is I've gotten into several debates about this with people over the last 24 hours. And I've noticed an interesting pattern, and that is that the first couple exchanges are about what Davis wrote, and then that falls away. And what ends up happening is a long, drawn-out debate where they're basically trying to prove that Eric Davis isn't telling the truth. And what you come to find is that most of the people who are upset about this on Twitter are actually people that have never believed Eric Davis. They've never liked Eric Davis. They've always thought he was full of it. And they're looking at this as an opportunity to go after him. And in every single conversation I've had in the last 24 hours, every single one, the last 75% of the debate has all been them trying to convince me that Eric Davis has never, ever told the truth. And it's not been about his response. And so this is essentially a proxy war. This is what's going on. This is like, America and Russia basically trying to get into a fight by using, North and South Korea. This is what's going on. People are basically using this case as a reason to go after Davis because they already felt that way about him.
And we should actually make a point on this. This is all over the Wilson documents. And, in reading the point, I thought it was pretty harsh. Both sides calling each other a liar. Eric Davis getting into a disease that Greenwald suffers from. I mean, this is personal. It is ugly. The gloves are off.
Ugly.
They are at center ice throwing punches here. And, let's just hope, this is the type of situation that could really turn into a brawl on social media. So if you're into UFO drama, this is the one to get to. Let's move on here for a little bit. And, I thought this was just a matter of time here, my friend, but it's happened. The Galileo Project with Avi Loeb has added Luis Elizondo and Chris Mellon. Now, I'm going to be blunt here for a second.
You, Dave?
No, it's true. It's true. I'm not sure if I think this is a good move or not. Part of me thinks it's fantastic. Yeah. The other part of me says, you know what, we're adding a lot of controversial people. Mm-hmm. Okay, and even though I'm a fan of Elizondo and I'm a fan of Chris Mellon, they're still controversial in this subject. Mm-hmm. And to me, I have a tough time wondering what they can bring to the Galileo Project, which was billed as a venture for the scientific community, not the conspiratorial government side of the community. What's your thoughts here, John?
No, I think you bring up some really good points, Dave. But what I will add to that is that one, I don't know how much of it's gotten to the general public, but there's been a lot of complaining and concern about some of the other people that have joined the group, and essentially one could argue this is a counterbalance to someone like Seth Toshak, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Stoshak.
Adding him, some of the other people that have been added. So you could argue this is a balancing of some sort. So that's one way you could look at it. I think that in many ways they are a better addition. If you were to look at the controversial additions, this is a better one from one point of view, and that is that within that organization, they didn't really have anyone that was into the UFO UAP side of things, right? And so now they have people that can eventually get them and share with them information that is going to help them, really look at this and perhaps filter out or really, sorry, hold on a second, let me reconnect here. Can really, help them filter out and help them deal with these, with all the issues. I mean, basically someone who can be a lot more, that's really odd. Sorry, bear with me here. Basically, be able to, add that expertise, add that, add that knowledge that they weren't going to have. And so I think from that point of view, it's potentially a really good thing and could add a lot of value. But I agree that it's very challenging that all these controversial people are being added.
This one, though, I mean, this is where it gets political. Yes, Chris Mellon brings deep pockets, but he's not spending his own money on this project. We already know that. Okay, mm-hmm. We already know that Avi Loeb has raised almost $20 million for this project. And I believe with Lou Elizondo and Chris Mellon, there's a good opportunity that more money could be raised and be more of a financial benefit. But
which is good because what Avi wants to raise is $100 million.
But I don't think either of them bring anything to the scientific field of study.
Personally,
yes.
But they have access to scientists that the Galileo project did not currently have access to. And so they can bring them things like signal information, frequency information, field range, frequency types, field types that, because one of the things Lou Elizondo said is that there are ways to track these objects that are far simpler and far cheaper than most of us realize.
I understand.
And if he's able to share that with Galileo, then it gives them an opportunity to either A, look for those things, or B, filter them out and look for, the astronomical things that they want to look for.
Here's my thing, though, John. Okay, and I believe you, and I think you're bringing up very solid points as per usual. But from a public's perspective, Lou Elizondo has a great reputation from the public perspective. Maybe not in the UFO community, but on a mainstream media community, this guy is Teflon.
Yep.
Whether we want to hear that or not, I think we can agree on that. Okay.
Yep.
But, my excitement with Avi Loeb and the Galileo project was that this was going to be something where members of the SCU, the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies, was going to get together and really, really make something happen here outside of the secrets of the United States government. And now we're bringing in Spook 1 and Spook 2, along with, never mind some of the other controversial adds to this team. And I'm finding it all of a sudden really, really hard to endorse. I really am. This is different than the TTSA. We have legitimacy here. You don't get a job as an astronomer for Harvard if you're a dumb guy or a controversial guy. Do you know what I'm saying? You got to be. You got to be.
You might become one later, but you don't start out that way.
No, and I agree with you. But I was really, really hoping that Loeb would take a different approach. I don't think he's done a lot of homework on some of the people he has added through his associates as well as his team. And I think this step just brought it a lot closer to government than maybe what a lot of us had hoped for. We wanted that anti-government study. We really did want that anti-government study. Yes. And adding Elizondo and Mellon to this team brings the government spooks right to the doorstep. And that's what I'm uncomfortable with.
No, and that makes sense. But the last thing I will add is the fact that the whole point of this is to build detective equipment that is not owned by the government. And, they're coming on as research affiliates. And so this does give them an opportunity to hopefully, and I'm being optimistic here, is hopefully share with them what they can do to their gear to pick up what the military equipment is picking up, but doing it in an open platform. And so that's the ideal scenario. And so hopefully something like that happens. But I agree with you, there's a lot of risk. Although I have to admit, as far as controversy is concerned, I don't know what would be more controversial, adding those two or adding people from adding the SCU. I don't really know which one would cause more problems for them.
All right. Finally tonight, as we only got about a minute and a half here, NASA requests feedback for better ways to announce discovery of life outside of our planet.
Yeah, I almost didn't put this one in there because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't, it's kind of like the whole, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything nice at all,
Hey, I know exactly, may I know exactly what we should do here. We should bring in Chris Mellon and Lou Elizondo to help them out too. I mean, they're everywhere already. Hold on, let me look under my desk, see if Elizondo and Lou are under there.
And I mean, look, from one point of view, right? From one point of view, maybe this is one small little piece of NASA thinking to themselves, "Oh bugger, we might actually have to announce aliens sometime soon. Maybe we should get feedback from the public for that one." And they never consulted the PR department, and so they came out on their own. I have no idea, but this one caught me off guard. This was like like what? like, I can't be reading that right. I mean, it's like, yeah, this is yeah, and in a world where NASA hadn't been hiding a bunch of stuff, this would be a prudent thing for them to do. But in light of all that we know, it's pretty weird. This is pretty weird.
Well, I mean, how about we just announce it? Why do we need a game plan? Why can't we just say, hey, we found microbial life on Mars, like we have?
Because you only got one chance. You want to do it right, you know?
Well, don't do it like the NFL halftime show, because they've been terrible the last 20 years. Don't take advice from them.
With the jets flying over.
or you add Elizondo and Mellon to your team, because they need more projects for their resumes. John?
Oh, yeah. Elizondo up there with Beyonce on the stage would be awesome.
Yes. We're out of here, buddy. Talk to you in a couple of nights.
Thank you, sir.
All right, let's get to Shirky Poo's news. A California man who claimed to be a fortune teller duped a woman into giving him more than $50,000 to rid her body of parasites and cure her family of a curse. Andres Pena Menendez, 31 years old, was arrested on felony charges of grand theft and theft by false pretenses after swindling the woman and her family, who went to cops to catch the self-styled clairvoyant who convinced her to pay him several $100s to expel the parasite in her body. Menendez, described by the woman as a Colombian national, also known as Carlos, then told her that she and her family were cursed, leading the woman to fork over $50,000 for his services. Detectives managed to track down Menendez and learned that he had a prior arrest and conviction in Chicago for a similar scheme back in 2019. All right. If you're in Chechnya and you're a witch, not a good place to be, as 3 women in Chechnya were arrested over the Halloween weekend on the suspicion of sorcery. The subjects and suspects were reportedly caught red-handed with maps, tarot cards, and a magical stone on one of them that had brought into the Islamic Republic from the Buddhist region of Kalmykia. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. How do we go on from here? All right. This is a cool story happening here in Canada. The plan to build North America's first wild refuge for whales retired from marine parks took a big step forward in a remote corner of northeastern Nova Scotia. The Whale Sanctuary Project officially opened its Visitor and Operations Center in Sherbrooke, marking the first time the U.S.-based conservation group has moved from planning the phase to actually building something. It's a milestone, Charles Vidic, the project's executive director, said in an interview this week. This really does show people that we are here, and we will be cutting the ribbon to show this is in fact, our home here in Nova Scotia. The new center has been built in a renovated Century home on the main street in Sherbrooke, a former timber and logging and gold mining town of about 200 kilometers northeast of Halifax. It's a good opportunity for a new business to come into the municipality. And it's saving whales as well, putting them back into the ocean. How cool is that? All right, finally in the news. Yep. Elon Musk is in it again. The Tesla and SpaceX CEO recently deleted a joke posted to his Twitter account proposing the name of a Texas university after being accused of sexism. Musk claimed that he would name his university the Texas Institute of Technology and Science, or in other words, TITS for short. Yep, Musk claimed that the school would have epic merch and would be universally admired. Though, just a joke. Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses. Today's question is, what do you think really happened with the Phoenix Lights? Eric, I don't know what made it so popular. It happens all the time all over the world. Kevin, I don't think the government would have flown one of ours over that much population, so I think it was from not home. Joshua, in short, an extraterrestrial or extra-dimensional craft flew over Phoenix with the fog lights on. David, no idea, Dave. From Dave. Chris, I think they opened for Rammstein in the summer of 2013. Michael, they went out. Chris, a pigeon. A very big one. Kevin, hi, David. I think they went back to where they came from. Lee, a cover to hide what was really up there. Sparkles, they arrived, showed themselves, and then left. Uncle Dale, that is one of the three most interesting cases, in my opinion. I saw a show with witnesses pointing out where they saw the craft, a geometric analysis of the craft based on it moving through an area of hills where it occluded features of the hills seem quite large. Thank you, Uncle Dale. And everyone else, Shirky Poo for the news, John with the UFO report, Dr. Lynne Kitei with the Phoenix Lights show. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thaw rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone checking out our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night.
Hello, Archie Manning here. When you grow up in a town like Drew, you understand, once a Mississippian, always a Mississippian. I love this place and care about what happens here. Our doctors are telling us 95% of new hospital patients who have COVID did not get vaccinated. We know the vaccine works, but only if you get it. It's easy and it works. Please get vaccinated, my friends, and stay healthy.
Sponsored by Delta Health Alliance. Go to getyourshotms.org.
With MailChimp, you get more than a URL. You get an all-in-one marketing platform to help drive sales. With things like data-driven recommendations and powerful automation tools. Get started today at MailChimp.com/smartmarketing. MailChimp, built for growing businesses.